Hello and welcome back to our coverage of the East Coast Credit Union Nova Scotia Men's Tankard Provincial Championships. We're here at the Mayflower Curling Club for this morning draw. It's the men's turn to take the ice. This is the last day of round robin. I'm Ryan Corsell. I'm joined here by Jim Nix as we get underway. Feature game today being Glen MacLeod taking on Paul Dexter. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Ryan. How you doing? It's great to be here with yourself and the curlers, and the entire Stuart Thompson fan club is here this morning.
Yes, that's right.
It's large, it's huge, it's growing every day. It's great to see.
That's right. It is the final day of round robin. As we mentioned, both the men and the women will play twice to finalize those standings, and with things the way they are, every shot will be important today.
Yeah, big game here today. We've got, Glen MacLeod and Paul Dexter. Paul playing for pride at this point, as they say. He's struggling along a little bit at 1 and 4. Glen at 2 and 3. We thought yesterday that might eliminate him, but after talking with Peter Burgess last night, Peter had it all figured out, and really 2 wins today. He needs some help. He needs a lot of help, but does have the possibility of making a tiebreaker here by the time the day's over.
That's right, and the unfortunate thing for Glen is that he does need that help from other teams. He's going to have to win his own games, but unfortunately none of those wins are going to drop the teams back that he needs to come back. So he's going to need to win and get some help from the other teams, but definitely an outside shot at a tiebreaker for the 2 and 3 team here from the Mayflower.
Yeah, the good news for him is he's counting on Sean Adams and Chad Stevens to win both their games, and those are two obviously very high-quality teams. The problem is that both those guys are playing the other two top seeds in this event, and Jamie Murphy and Stuart Thompson. So there is a possibility, but all you can do at this point if you're Glen and his guys is go out and play and try to win your game and hope that it works out at the end of it.
That's right. The way the standings have worked out has made for an interesting last day of play here at the East Coast Credit Union Tankard. As always, all 8 teams are playing on the 4 sheets of ice here at the Mayflower. As we mentioned, Stuart Thompson taking on Sean Adams next door on sheet 5. That's a battle of 2 teams that are at 4 and 1. And on sheet 2, Jamie Murphy also at 4 and 1, taking on Chad Stevens, which is the only undefeated team left here this week. They're at 5 and 0. And later on tonight, Jim, I see that Stuart Thompson plays Chad Stevens and Jamie Murphy plays Sean Adams. So the top seeds just continuing to play each other today, and that's going to cause a few losses for someone.
Well, for sure, and definitely brings up the possibility of a tiebreaker in one form or other, whether it be between 2 teams or 3 teams. We'll have to wait to see, but for now, we're underway here in this game and look forward to a good game.
That's right.
Glen's had an interesting week. He's 2 and 3, but his games have really been really tight. He lost in his first round 6-5 to Sean Adams in an extra end, and he lost 7-5 to Chad Stevens. First day, tough opening day, having to play Adams and Stevens on the first day, and came away with 2 losses, but they weren't too dejected. Thought they were playing pretty well, and then they bounced back with 2 wins, beat Stuart Thompson 9-7 on day 2, and Brett McDougall 5-3, before losing last night 6-5 to Jamie Murphy in a real tight battle on sheet 3.
That's right. We've had a lot of tight games here. The caliber of curling is really high, and that's made for a lot of shot making, a lot of tight games, and as Jim mentioned, Glen MacLeod just being on the other side of the inch sometimes in those games and coming away with a couple losses. So at 2 and 3, knows that what he has to do is win his pair of games today.
Exactly. There's not too much going on here in the first end so far.
I know sometimes as I look across the sheet, Jim, they seem to have a few open ends to open up this morning draw, and that's in slight contrast of what we've seen all week. And I find sometimes you see that at the end of an event when the teams notice or know how important every shot and end are a little more hesitant to take bigger chances early in the game, and that might be an example of what we're seeing this morning.
Yeah, I agree. It is interesting. You sort of think by now that everybody knows the ice and all that, so they'll go hard right away. But I don't know. I don't think it matters how long you play the game or how high a level. I think nerves are a little bit of an issue, and for most teams, certainly non-professional teams like these guys are. And sometimes you just play an end or 2, make some shots, start to feel a little bit good about the game, and then you can go at it a little bit in the second, third end, somewhere around there.
Yeah, get in the groove, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
We mentioned the 4 top seeds playing each other on sheets 2 and 5. We do have a 4th game as well we haven't told you about on sheet 3. Brent McDougall taking on Jamie Danbrook, and that is a battle of the winless teams. Someone will come away with a W here this morning at the Mayflower.
Yeah, it's you definitely don't want to have the 8th spot at the end of the week. You just, something about it. 7th is maybe not that much better, but it feels better than 8th. So everybody at the bottom half certainly has something to play for. A lot of pride there, and certainly want to come out of it with at least 1 W for sure.
Yeah, none of these players letting up no matter what the standings are, and we'll keep you updated on all the games as we get underway here in draw 6.
The Paul Dexter team playing with their 5th player again today. Neil Glantz in for Lee Buott. Lee's got some knee issues, I think, happening with him, and hasn't been able to play much of the event, really. He did play, I think, the first game, maybe game and a half or something like that, but he's been kind of down and out since then. He is here this morning. I saw him this morning. We didn't get a chance to talk to him, but Neil's done a great job. We were doing the game when he came in the other day, and geez, he was lights out for the last 7 ends or 8 ends or whatever he was there for. So
yeah, and a wonderful come around there from Neil. Makes it perfectly buried, top 4, and here comes a run back attempt from Glen MacLeod.
And looked a little tiny bit tight out of his hand, but he's going hard at it.
Robby McLean trying to make the rock curl now. They're going to get it. Where will the blue one end up? Peter Burgess is going to sweep it now, try to get it behind that corner guard, but they want to save it, and it does hang on to the biter, completely buried behind that corner yellow. Paul Dexter recognizing that that's going to be more or less a lost stone, and he'll try to make another come around to the top 4 to generate his deuce.
Yeah, exactly. That one's probably there for the duration, so you might as well go ahead and try hard to get your 2.
Yeah.
It's always interesting when you have a dynamic like this where one team is pretty much out of it and one team in, and other than the fact that you obviously like to knock off a contender, I wonder sometimes how you approach the game. Do you just say, hey, it doesn't really matter that much to us, so we can go hard all the time, so it becomes a bit of a challenge for the other guys that are still theoretically in the hunt a little bit to manage that style of play, because you may see some calls from Paul Dexter that you wouldn't predict in a normal game situation.
Or that you wouldn't have seen earlier this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good observation, Jim. Kind of definitely to the detriment of the team trying to hold their good standing. And you see that a lot even at the national championships. Any team that's out of playoff contention will often come out with the guns blazing, and all of a sudden the pressure's off. They're just there to make some shots, and sometimes that's kind of the mindset they were missing all week to have a better record, but they're able to get into the groove here late in the event.
What's interesting, just a little like an analogy to a golf tournament. Sometimes guys that haven't won in golf, they get to that 3rd round on Saturday and their score goes up, and they end up shooting like a 74, 75 or something, and then come back on Sunday and shoot like 63. So I think it's just the pressure of the moment, and then once that pressure's off, it's like, well, I'll kind of mess that up, and I'll just go out and hit it, and all of a sudden they shoot a really low score.
Yeah, that's true.
The mind can be a dangerous thing when it comes to sports, for sure.
For sure. And another wonderful shot from Glen MacLeod there. Starts out the game with a strong pair, and we've seen that all week really from Glen, making a lot of great shots as a 3rd stone player on this team. He holds the broom as the skip, but allows Peter Burgess to throw last stones.
Yeah, Glen, really solid player, right?
Yeah.
Good looking shot here by Mark Robar as well.
Looks like he's going to get to the inside of this one, so he's going to flop back behind that other guard. Maybe peeks out just a sliver on the center line side.
Mark, another guy that all these guys, he's all play so well. And but watching the game with that Mark played yesterday, geez, he was just awesome. He was really good. He didn't play 3rd all year. He basically held the broom for Paul Dexter because they've been together a long time, apparently, and or at least have a really great dynamic. But Lee Buott did throw 3rd stones. This has worked great for them, I will say. Mark's playing very, very well. Glen MacLeod is our defending champion here at the East Coast Credit Union Tankard. Not quite the same team, close. Colton Steele played on the team last year, and it's moved over to be with Stuart Thompson.
Yes, and replaced by 2nd stone Tyler Gamble.
Yeah. Good looking shot here by Peter.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to get another roll behind that corner situation over there. Can they tuck a second one?
one of these ones you're just like, geez, I wish I had a hammer.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
But it's going to leave part of it exposed there, so Paul Dexter might switch the strategy up here around and feels he has a better chance at making the freeze on the other side. If it's made perfect, you might just see Peter wrap around the center guard, though.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. If he makes it good enough, you will for sure. Peter, without the benefit of last rock, certainly doesn't want to give up a 2, but he might be forced. He might be forced to make that decision. And I think Paul might even go here if it seemed to be a little easier to get that rock where they can't hit it. It doesn't matter. Seems like it doesn't matter how well they make this come around. It's able to be removed. So
yeah, we've seen them make it from both sides. So
yeah, with pretty decent weight.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So this will be the in-turn draw. This one could be a little bit sluggish going down the center line. We've seen that happen a few times this week where after practice, and you and I have talked a little bit about it, where they play that same path all the time for practice, and then all of a sudden you have to throw a rock down the middle, and it's just heavy.
Yeah, that's right.
Heavier, I guess would be a better way to play. Certainly not heavy by what normal club nut curlers would see on a normal basis.
Paul Dexter, of course, has played at the national level before, representing Nova Scotia in the juniors, I think in 2009.
Yeah, Paul's a good player. I played him last year in the intermediates at the end of the year, and holy cow, I was impressed. I had never played him before, or not really seen him play. And he's a good thrower. Great demeanor, too, just pretty low-key out there. So good shot there. Yeah. Not perfect, but pretty darn good for the first end. Forced Peter to make a takeout. He'll probably keep the weight up pretty good on this shot. Earlier in the week, we saw some people would make the shot, throw the weight down a little bit, and curl right by. So I think they've learned that it's not going to do anything funny out there. You can throw it pretty hard and have it just run straight. It won't go backwards like sometimes it does in curling clubs around the province.
Yeah, and I think with this shot here, I think if he hits it on the nose, he might kill all 3. So in order to keep the force alive, you might see him try to hit the rock on the high side.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think a nose hit even would probably be okay, Ryan. I think the blue one would go behind the other one.
Okay.
I think. I'm not really totally sure.
We're going to find out here.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Right straight by, and Glen MacLeod lays 3.
So Paul's going to drawing against 3 in the first end. Never your favorite thing, but it's nice when none of them are at least in the 4-foot or 8-foot.
That's right.
Be a little careful here. He had really nice weight on his first one, but like I say, sometimes it is a little quicker on this sort of path than it is going down the center, so he'll have to be aware of that.
That's right, a good early test here for Paul Dexter as he settles into the hack for the last stone of the first end.
Paul throwing the out turn here. This one's gliding along pretty good. Looks like it should be okay.
Guiding it down.
Just starting to clean a little bit. That's always a good sign. I always like when I throw the last one and gets to the other hog line. The sweepers are just starting to clean it. That's kind of nice.
Yeah, that's right. We saw Mark's hand go up, and he was confident from the get-go that it was a good draw, and that's because Paul Dexter put it right on the button. So he will score 1 in this first end and take the early lead 1-0 over Glen MacLeod.
Yeah, good draw by Paul. Nice to make that first draw, too, in the first end. It's interesting how even in club play, when you make that first draw, even though the ice is usually quite a bit heavier in clubs than it is as the game moves on, whereas here it's pretty close to the same, still feels good. Somehow that just magically gives you draw weight. I never quite understood that because the next draw you throw is probably quite a bit faster, but you can make that adjustment without really thinking much about it. You missed that first one, it seems like sometimes you can never figure it out.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jim. It's all about the confidence that first one gives you and take that into the following ends. I suppose it comes down to if you make the first one, you know where to adjust from for any speed changes later in the game.
Nice thing about this ice, and John Wall doing the ice here with his ice crew, and some of the guys on the Nova Scotia Ice Tech team are just doing such a great job. You go out there, you do the little practice, and by the time you finish practice, and even sometimes at the start of practice, ice is very close to what you're going to have for the whole game, and that certainly makes it a lot easier. I often think when I watch the Grand Slams on TV and recognizing how well those guys play the game, I think it's got to be an easier game when you play on the same ice conditions basically every week. No matter where you go or who you're playing, it's always exactly the same.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So this one dropped probably a little shorter than Tom wanted it. Seemed to lose a little handle at the end, too. You have to be careful with that on this ice.
Yeah, there's no forgiveness for low rotation on this ice. We've seen teams lose a few stones due to that. And this one's on the guard early.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't know if he got out to the broom there or not. It just, they seem to call the sweeping on early. And
yeah, a little light maybe because it's hardly going to come to that top yellow stone that Tom Bragnalo threw.
Yeah, Robby won't be happy with that one. That's probably the miss you don't want without hammer.
Yeah,
or with hammer, rather, sorry.
Yeah, and Paul has 2 center guards now, so good situation for the team without hammer.
All ones across the board in the first end, not even any blanks. That's a little bit different. Sometimes the way it was starting out, we would have thought maybe a couple blanks across the board. Everybody with a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, that's right. We can start our updates here this morning in Draw 6 of men's action. Sean Adams took the single over Stuart Thompson in 1. Jamie Danbrook with a single over Brent McDougall. And Jamie Murphy with a single over Chad Stevens. And this one's going to fall a little short of the rings, just by the top 12 as well, but it is behind cover. So I think that's going to act as a third guard for both teams. See Glen calling for Robby to come behind all 3.
Yeah, you're right. It's absolutely on this ice with the amount of curl that we have and the amount of finish we have. That rock is definitely a guard for sure. Glen doesn't have much choice now, but come around it again with Robby McLean. Robby, I suspect, will be much closer on this one.
That's right, and so far this is moral victory for Paul Dexter. He's coasted MacLeod into the come-around game.
It's like a great shot here, though.
Yeah, they're going to get Tyler to try to finish it towards the center line there, and pretty successful with that. Settles top 8.
Yeah, really good shot. And the key there is he stayed above the T line, Ryan. Yesterday it just seemed like so many times people were throwing what appeared to be really good shots, but they go to the back of the button or maybe just back 4 foot and really rocks that you can't utilize, and usually coming in, they end up hurting you at the end of the day. And so good stone there by Robby McLean for sure. Neil being asked to just play the corner freeze to this one. Going hard on it. I think they must figure that they've got to go by now. It's not going to get over to that one. Yeah,
so it's plan B here to get around the blue one. And they do that successfully. It will settle back 4 and also pretty buried. So
yeah, very good shot.
Good audible there from the skipper.
Yeah. I didn't think they'd be able to hold that long, but they did a great job. Tyler Gamble trying to duplicate that shot by the Dexter team.
Yeah, also wants to wrap around the blue one, but this one's curling fast, and they've given up on that already. It will be on the blue stone.
It's not a bad result, though, if they can split those enough. It's pretty good, I think.
It'll leave the thrown rock exposed, though. And
is there a double there? Can he get to the inside of that?
I don't think he can get to the inside, no. But
that's one saving grace, at least, for him.
Maybe with hack or back line, but she won't make the double.
Paul must be playing a guard of sorts here.
I think he indicated right straight down onto those maybe top 12, top 8 area.
Okay, yeah.
He could miss them all and just corner freeze to the one top 4, I think. With a straight draw. This one's coming down.
Or even a little rub maybe, eh? Just
T-line is the indication from sweeper Tom Bragnalo. Mark Robar on now with the hairbrush with the directional sweeping, trying to get this rock to curl past the blue one. And it'll just catch the inside and settle top 8. And that's a pretty good stone still, because it's not going anywhere right away.
Yeah, true enough. Although MacLeod certainly has a chance here to maybe move his blue one in for number 2.
It appears right now that the blue one is number 1, top 4.
tap here for the MacLeod foursome. Very different games here. We're looking at our sheet. We've thrown 7 rocks in this end, all 7 in play. And next door in the Adams-Thompson game, they've thrown 10 rocks and none of them in play.
Yeah, both games between the top seeds, we're seeing really defensive play so far. This one's curling really fast.
Yeah, maybe too much.
Going to come to the nose of the blue. Actually tick the yellow one a bit first, and that's going to help their cause as they take some speed off of it and tap it to the tee line on the side of the forefoot. It does appear that he was able to get second shot from it, so Glen MacLeod laying 2 with hammer. Good opportunity here for Paul Dexter, though, to get a little hit and flop into the button area.
Yeah, it's getting a little congested in there for the MacLeod team, certainly if they're trying to score 2 in this end. It's a good shot here by Mark Robar is going to make the rest of this end pretty difficult. Receivers on it early. Well, I guess they're off now.
Where does he roll? Rolls to the side of the button. Not a bad shot. Mark Robar.
Yeah, good shot. I think Glen could probably get it out, but if he does, he's going to probably have to roll. Okay, Peter's looking at maybe just a little tap. Could hit it a little bit harder, but the problem is you're going to roll out and not be number 2, I think.
Yeah, I think you'd hit it too high, and I think Peter could benefit from keeping them around at the back there.
Yep, quite possibly.
But it doesn't seem like a lot of ice, so I'd say he's probably throwing at least a hack or board here.
Delivers. Sure looks like about that kind of weight, Ryan. Maybe just a little bit more.
Yeah, nothing from the sweepers so far. Now Robby McLean is on it. They're just going to let it warp into the center line area here. Crazy amounts of curl there. They're actually going to hit the blue one first. And that took some speed off of that rock.
Yeah, unfortunate for Glen. I think if he gets by there, he's got a terrific shot, although it did turn out pretty good. Shooter just spun back a little bit, so it didn't roll open and let Paul be able to play the in-off. And
yeah, the players really seem to be getting different amounts of curl on their rocks, and I think that really comes down to rotation. Seems to affect the path of the stone a lot on ice conditions like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've just seen a few of them snap there. Glen's is one of them.
What's interesting last night, while the guys were looking at a couple shots here, we had 2 games decided on measures last night. It was interesting to see. I don't think I've ever seen that. I've seen 1 game, but never 2.
Yeah.
Both were maybe a little bit of a grasp at winning by teams, but still they had to measure, and that means they were probably within a quarter of an inch.
Yeah, that's right. You can join us here at the Mayflower Curling Club for all the live action. We're just in the north end of Halifax on Monahan Drive, just off Yonge Street. Single draw passes are $5, or you can get a full event pass for $25. And today will be the last day of round robin play, and after that the playoffs games will go up to $10 a draw.
Yeah, so that $25 ticket's still a pretty good deal if you're not able to get in today, and even if you're just coming for the 4 playoff games the next 2 days. Quite a bargain.
Yes, that's right, and we do have some seating out on the ice level that the Mayflower has set up here, and we haven't seen too many people take advantage of it yet, but I assume we'll see that fill up as the weekend continues.
Yeah, I think so. As we get to the semifinals and the finals, and we get to the days of the week that people have off.
That's right.
I think we're gonna
I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
So a little over curl there on Dexter's last stone, but it really didn't end up in a bad spot. It's fully buried, and Dexter does lay 2, 3, and 4, and the blue shot stone is exposed now. So we've seen great curl towards the center line on both sides now.
Big shot here for Glen. He actually can set up a possible 2 here if he makes a good shot, but
I think as he's trying to come off his blue, realizing that it being forced shot, he's probably not going to score with that one.
Yeah, no, he's definitely trying to come off the blue one.
Just like that.
It's a great shot.
Great shot from Glen MacLeod there.
I think he would have probably, in a perfect world, would have hit maybe a little tiny bit more, just stayed up maybe just above the tee line instead of just on the backside of the tee line. But heck, that's pretty good. Pretty good shot.
Now here's where you start looking at the angles. There's a lot of rocks in the forefoot.
Tough spot. Paul hasn't got a lot of great shots here as far as removing things. He might just decide to play that basically the same shot Glen just played, draw it into the pocket there and make Glen deal with it. Now he's going to go in turn. So he's going to try to hit the one on the right side of the house here and basically just try to stay there and force Glen to decide what to do with that stone, because it's going to be definitely promotable on the next shot.
I tell you, Jim, if he gets the same amount of curl he got on Mark Robar's last stone there, he can actually probably get to the inside of that blue and flop to the top of the button area. Yeah, and that would be a hard stone to remove after that.
Certainly would, yeah. Nice thing for Glen is that the blue one that's at the back of the button, even though it's just slightly behind the tee line, is probably not going anywhere. It's probably going to be there long term, so he should be in a pretty good position to at least score. It's just a matter of how to make that second point come into play. Paul Dexter on the way here. Throwing an in-turn takeout.
Really wants to come close to those guards. He's flirting with them already as Tom Bragnalo on the brush, trying to hold the line for his team here. By one yellow, by two yellows, just rubbing the back edge of that second yellow, and slight redirect means he's going to come close to the nose of that stone, but he'll keep his shooter there. Geez, Jim, if he's by that second yellow, he flops to the top of the button area for sure.
Yeah, good call on that ice, Ryan. You had that figured out really, really well. That was hooking hard, and he threw it pretty firm. Yeah, almost a peach, but not quite. It does give the MacLeod rink a chance to play the in-off here off this yellow one, and if he gets this one in, Paul's in some trouble here.
Yeah, trading opportunities back and forth here.
Refer to in-turn and out-turn, just if there happens to be anybody decided to get up early and watch curling for the first time in their lives. Just two different rotations on the handle of the stone, and usually we refer to the in-turn for the right-handed player versus the left-hander. So if you're left-handed, it's different, but for a right-handed player, clockwise rotation of the stone is an in-turn, and a counterclockwise rotation is an out-turn. Someday they'll probably come up with a term to use that's a little more generic than that, so it's the same for both left-handers and right-handers, but right now we're going with that.
Yeah, it's a good observation. I know growing up curling, I always had a bit of a hard time keeping both those straight, and you got to a point where you just used inside out or outside in.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until much later in my curling career that I really got a grasp on labeling in-turns and out-turns as such.
Yeah, it's, when people start curling, in club curling, you won't see it here, but in club curling, the turn is usually indicated by holding one arm out or a hand out or whatever, until people understand the game and realize, well, to get the rock to go that direction, I have to turn it this way. But so we used to always teach them, just said, aim at the hand and turn it to the body, and that was the way I
I said that a lot too.
Yeah. Seems so simple. Everybody would be down there trying to figure out, no, it's clockwise and this and that. And I'm like, well, if you just start with it pointed at the hand and turn it to the body, it's going to be right. Doesn't matter. So good shot coming up here by Paul Dexter. If he can make it, would be a little tap to the button on this yellow one. And I'll tell you.
Yeah, I suppose that shot's there, eh?
Well, definitely there for number two. And if he can get enough weight, definitely there for shot rock. And if he gets it in there, it's not going anywhere, I don't think.
That's right, yeah. You just have to tap that blue a couple inches, and I think he'd end up being shot rock.
It'll be interesting if that does happen. You might see, the MacLeod rink play the in-off off the blue or the run slash on the blue one. Out-turn tap coming up by Paul Dexter. Really just looking for back 8 weight. This will be close. Curling really hard now. Glen trying to hold it. And he does. Doesn't get number 1, but gets a really good number 2. So great shot by Paul Dexter. Might do what he wants. Peter Burgess does have the little intern tap up on his last shot for his 2, which I think is probably the only shot he has. So the deuce is still there for sure, but a pretty good shot by Paul Dexter.
Yeah, it's all about making your opposition's shot tougher, and he's managed to do that a bit here.
Yeah, probably just a hair more weight by Paul. Paul was probably maybe thinking 4 or 5 feet light on that, lighter than he wanted to be. Maybe not even that, maybe even just 2 or 3 feet. Just so the rock would run that little bit straighter and get a little tiny bit better angle. Because if he moves it over another 3 inches, it's pretty near impossible for Glen MacLeod's team to get there too. So tough little shot here for Peter Burgess, second in, but an opportunity to score 2, which is always lovely with hammer. Peter mentioned yesterday, Peter, one of the few guys left in the game that still lift the stone on all shots. But a great thrower.
So here we go, last stone, second end. Peter Burgess for Team MacLeod. Tyler Gamble trying to hold the line on this tap back attempt. He'll be by 1 guard, but he's gonna wreck on the second, and it will be just 1 for Team MacLeod as they tie it up after 2, 1-1.
Yeah, that side is just warping over there. Probably not a real great ice read by the MacLeod guys. I mean, they've seen a few rocks come down. Paul's team's thrown a few come down, curl real hard, and that one you probably got to give yourself a chance and keep it out there. You know you're not going to hold it. But second end, heck, it's not easy to put it in the right place all the time or the perfect spot. So
yeah, it definitely curls a lot there. We've seen that already.
You know, even though the ice is so consistent all week long, as I said, John Wall and these guys have done a great job. It is really consistent, but it does vary a little bit day to day just because it's early in the day. The guys have worked on the ice overnight and out here in the morning, and sometimes there's a little tiny bit of adjustment. If they haven't seen enough curl happening, they might be working on it to try to make enough curl, and you do have to make sure you sort of park most of your knowledge of what happened during the week and play what you've got here today.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So action underway here in the third end. All games reaching the third end now. We had Brent McDougall responded with a deuce in the second end. He now leads Jamie Danbrook 2-1. That's the other feature sheet you can watch live over on Bell TV1. Coverage of 2 sheets all week long here. And a blank from Chad Stevens on ice 2 means he's still down 1-0 to Jamie Murphy, but he has the hammer playing the third end.
Yeah, what a treat to be able to bring you 2 games a day here on TV1. It's amazing. It's, you know, the last couple of years it's been, they've done a lot of events here, and it's really thrilling for us as curlers and thrilling for fans. There's a lot of curling fans out there. There's a lot more fans than curlers most of the time, but it's just really nice to be able to bring you a couple of games a day, and we're here just as sort of volunteer announcers because we love to do it. We have a lot of fun with it, and you know, but the guys with TV1, those guys they've got 4 or 5 guys that are spending an awful lot of time here. They're here before we get here. They're here after we leave, and you know, they're for the most part probably not even curlers until recently, and certainly know a lot about the game, and they do a great job bringing you the shots and the angles and the views that we need. So thanks to all the crew here at TV1 too.
Yeah, it's been great having their support, and we've really enjoyed the camera angles that are offered on the ice. The team is working in conjunction with the Mayflower Curling Club overhead cameras, which you can tell the difference during our footage when you see the wonderful HD shot like these that we're flipping through now, and then once in a while we'll flip to that overhead, which is a lower resolution shot, but when you're watching curling is always really useful to have available. And a wreck on the guard there from Robby McLean, and Glen MacLeod won't be very happy with that.
No,
he really threw that center guard up there on his first one, and I'm sure he wanted it for the rest of the end. Yeah,
Robby's struggling a little bit here. We're only in the third end, but you know, uncharacteristically, he probably has at least 2 misses so far. And you know, for these guys, 2 misses and 6 shots, that's a lot. So Robby will pick it up, I'm sure. He's a great player, and he'll figure it out. Might have a couple of rocks that are doing little different things. Who knows? So. It does let Paul Dexter throw up the corner guard. Sort of an extreme corner guard, well over there, but just about where you want it. Maybe just 6-8 inches a little bit further to the left than you like. But so crucial for Tyler Gamble now to stay. That's the thing, when some team throws up that corner guard, you really need to stay on these hits so that you take them away from using it.
That's right.
Robby working hard, trying to make up for that miss. Wow. Tell you what, as much as I'm not super fan of the directional sweeping, I'm a fan of the results.
Yeah, sometimes you can't dispute what you see in front of you.
No, you start sweeping that one basically to make sure it doesn't over curl and roll out, and ends up rolling a little bit the other way. So it's pretty interesting. So Neil Glant have the outturn takeout again. Tom doing the same thing, basically trying to hold this one, although this is pretty light.
Yeah, this one's gone, I think. And we're going to see a flash there from the substitution for Lee Buott.
Yeah, just a little drop in weight. Probably Neil can throw the high hard one pretty good, and maybe just trying to bring it down and brought it down a little bit too far. You see many misses by him. You can see, well, you can't see probably, but Tom Bragnalo just telling him that, just bring that weight up a little bit and you'll be fine.
That's right. And they started out defensively there in the battle between Jamie Murphy and Chad Stevens, but we can tell you in this third end here, I count, is that 6, 7 stones in the forefoot?
Yeah, somewhere.
I'll let you know how that end wraps up.
Changed around a little bit too. A couple minutes ago they were all Murphy stones. Now there's at least 2 Stevens stones, and he might be sitting 2.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, wild looking end over there. Once they decided to go hard.
Yeah, that's right. Chad Stevens, of course, the only undefeated team here at the East Coast Credit Union Tankard, trying to lock up a position in the playoff round. At 5-0, he's already guaranteed himself some action post round robin, and we're going to be able to sort that out today on the final day of round robin. The men will play now at 8 o'clock. They also play today at 4 o'clock. Another 4-draw day today, with the men and women both playing twice. The women will play at noon and then wrap things up tonight at 8 o'clock. And when the dust settles, we'll see who's on to the playoffs.
Oh, great shot there by Neil Glen. They might have lost the sweeping a little bit. They may not have wanted to roll behind that center guard either. I'm not sure, but kind of looked to me like maybe they just missed the sweep call just a tiny little bit and rolled a little bit too far. But nice shot for Neil. Good comeback after the last one. Like a nose hit here.
So both teams here just waiting to see who will be the first to make the perfect roll behind either the corner guard for Paul Dexter or the center guard for Glen MacLeod.
It's funny, you watch that rock go down there and pretty much, right out of his hand, Glen throws it really well, obviously, like he always does. And as somebody calling the line, you just can't figure out. You can't act fast enough to make the roll. You can roll either way, but you watch it, and it's almost like as soon as he lets go, it's like, okay, nose hit, because you just can't figure out. And you really could, you could hammer it all the way down, probably get a little roll, but you just get mesmerized sometimes. It's like, well, I don't know.
It's a hard line call for the skip, for sure, because in order to make the roll right, you almost have to get sweeping when the rock's not on the rock yet. It still looks like it's going to go straight by, but you got to have faith in that curl.
Yeah, exactly. And also on that one too, I guess the thing is that you definitely don't want to roll it out. You want to make him have to do what he just did, though.
Yeah.
And he did it very well. Made the inside roll. Great shot from Mark Robar.
I think they wanted to roll to the corner, but they'll take the roll to the center either way, and that'll force Glen MacLeod into a tough run-back attempt here, and it appears that this one may have just slightly over-curled.
Oh, killer, that one.
And the bad part of that is just going to leave his blue one out there as well.
Yeah, that's another one of those sweep calls. You're hammering it and just kind of hoping it just holds on. If it holds on another half an inch, you probably get rid of the yellow rock, and as a result, when you don't make it, now it's still almost a perfect guard on the yellow one. So Mark Robar now going around the corner guard, I think. Hard to tell with Mark. He has a little different handle action. There it goes, yeah. Around the corner. If you do have a shot of mark sliding out, you'll notice he holds the stone at the very, very end of the rock. I always figured sometimes the rock would be gone when he didn't want it to be gone, but he must have always done that and does it really well, so good for
lots
him.
of throwing styles you see now, and as long as your skip's used to your throwing it that way and you've got it perfected, who are we to say, is we're behind the glass and these guys are on the ice. So
yeah, great shot there too. Really nice shot right behind the corner. Forced Peter Burgess play the run back. A little dangerous now without Hammer. You're looking at 2 yellows. If you don't make this run back at all, you're probably going to be in danger of giving up a 3-ender.
That's right, and I think with the angle here, you might be trying to hit it on the left-hand side, and then you'd probably be able to flop over towards the one behind the corner. A few options here for Peter Burgess. Throws 4th stones on the Glen MacLeod rink.
Yeah, the actual run back double is definitely there. I don't think Peter had his best slide there. He looked like he had to kind of steer it back, but going hard. Tyler Gamble going hard, trying to hold it. Not going to work.
Going to try to get the side one. Yeah, and they were successful in that, and at least their shooter rolls off, so the yellow one is exposed now as well. But Dexter's going to continue to try to lay 2 with Hammer here.
So not a total disaster for the MacLeod team on that one, but it all could have been. Peter just didn't have a good run at that one. Peter slides really straight, and you could see him coming down a little tight to the center line and having to steer it back a little, and that's just hard to do. You have to practice that a lot.
Yeah, coming out that fast, you don't have a lot of time to make those corrections.
Yeah. And if you're practicing that, then you're probably not playing here this week. So so the outturn come around. Same shot Mark Robar just played for Paul Dexter.
Yeah, he will have seen this line on the previous one. And a couple updates to tell you about in the third end. After a blank in 2 between Sean Adams and Stuart Thompson, Thompson able to score the single in 3, so they're all tied up at 1. And the good play continues from Chad Stevens' team over on sheet 2. They were able to pick up 3 in the third end, so they're up now 3-1 on 2-time Nova Scotia Tankard champions Jamie Murphy.
Jamie's team has been a little bit off this week as well. They've won some games that they had to come back hard in. They lost a game to Stuart Thompson that in an extra end, but they were down 6-0 after 2 ends and came back and tied that up. And so they've sort of had good and bad this week. They just, at 4-1, I shouldn't say they've lost some games. Obviously, they haven't lost very many, but just haven't been as dominant as I thought they might be for a little while. So they're going to have to bring it up a notch if they're going to be around on Sunday afternoon.
That's right. A couple tough games today, as we mentioned, for all top seeds. It'll be interesting to see where it settles tonight. I think all of those teams more or less have the potential of ending the day either first, as high as first, or as low as out.
Yeah, so, exactly, yeah.
Some good play needed.
Yeah, if you have 1 loss right now, if you have a tough day, find yourself at 4-3, you might be totally gone. You're right. So Paul came a little deep on that, gave an opportunity for a double here to Peter Burgess throwing this one, and not an easy double, but a possible double, and he would have liked to have been even.
Peter Burgess trying to take the 2-ender away from Paul Dexter here with this double opportunity. Close. On the sweep for Robby McLean, on and off.
Close.
I think it might be too thin. Oh, and just catches a piece.
Awesome shot.
Nice double from Peter.
Almost overswept it.
Yeah.
Really close to oversweeping it.
Yeah.
Those are hard to call, The guys on TV make it look awful easy, but
a real steep angle, yeah.
Yeah.
And it'll be an easy throw through for the blank from Paul Dexter.
And the nice thing with the new sweeping styles, it's kind of nice that you can sometimes make some shots that you otherwise might have missed, might have overcurled, but at the same time, you just sweep it 4 or 5 strokes too long and you've backed it up too much, you miss it the other way.
Yeah, that's right.
Paul playing my favorite shot. Just throw it through. Don't be light, and you're good. So we move into the 4th, 1-1 game. It sounds like a little bit of a boring game. Hasn't been that for sure. Been lots of rocks in play a couple of times, and some good shots made, and some good saves by the skips. And Gonna move on here.
That's right.
Glen's
and lead Robby McLean about to get us underway in the 4th act.
One good thing this week, and kind of good thing, I think, is that all the teams have played fairly quickly. There hasn't been a lot of issues with times. I know in one of the women's games a few games ago, one team rushed a little bit, but they just were a little confused on the time. They were actually in the middle of a timeout. They would have been okay, but other than that, I haven't really seen a lot of real close situations or problem times, because sometimes you get to that last end, you have enough time to play the end, but the problem is you don't really have a lot of time to think about what you're doing. So
yeah,
it's been pretty good. Teams have been moved it right along well. Keeps us involved too, which is good.
Yeah, we've seen a few teams drop below the 4 minutes per end mark in the last half of their games, but all it really requires is an extra concerted effort into speeding up play, and you can really make up that time quite quickly, and by the time you get to the 10th, it's no longer an issue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's been the nice change with the thinking time. It sort of doesn't penalize teams for two things. It doesn't penalize you too much for being behind a little bit and having to be aggressive, or if that's just your style of play. So it's good that they made that change.
Yeah, I agree.
And not a great shot for Tom there. He certainly didn't want to do that. He wanted to get around that one. He's now provided Glen with a perfect center guard and a little bit of help on the outside. So here's this intern. We've seen this one curl crazy for
that's right. Coming
few
towards
shots.
the glass here now.
Getting out there a little further. Robby McLean will be asked to make the come around. And just say Robby just a little bit of a struggle so far. Try to get it together here.
See both sweepers on this one. You don't usually see that, Jim, unless it's just for weight, and I don't think this one needs any weight.
I think that's probably a factor of some of the rocks we've seen that have really gone on us earlier in the game.
Yeah.
Brian, I think they just were a little bit nervous that it might go, and you're right, that one sure didn't need any assistance.
As it slides to the back of the 8-foot. Second stone coming from Tom Bragnalo here, lead for Paul Dexter.
Expect Robby's parents will probably be around this weekend if he makes it. Paul and his wife tend to get out and watch Robby whenever they can, which is almost all the time. Paul makes ice at the Highlander Club in St. Andrews. Again,
just outside Antigonish, is it?
It is, yeah. Nice little Crown club. It's been there quite a few years now. I keep thinking it's only been there for.
I played at that club actually a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably when I met Robby all those years ago in our junior days is at that club.
Yeah. Well, nice little club, great people, and we're going there for the seniors this year. They're hosting the Nova Scotia seniors, and that'll be a dogfight, man. There's some good senior teams now. It's both in men's and ladies. It's crazy. The women literally have 3 or 4 teams that easily could win, maybe even 5 teams out of 7 that could win that thing, and the men, lots of good players. So anyway, back to the action here.
Yeah, you mentioned the seniors teams, not only teams capable of winning their provincial, but teams capable of winning the national championship is what we've seen a lot of coming out of the Atlantic provinces in the last few years. There's been a really big dominance at the senior level from teams from Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, with Wayne Talon's team winning Canadian seniors not too long ago.
Yeah, and Colleen Pingley's team winning the World Seniors a few years back. And yeah, you're absolutely right about that. I don't know, maybe all the other provinces are just curled out by the time they get to be 50.
Yeah, I've wondered about that a lot. Do you think they lose the competitive edge by the time they get to that age?
Yeah.
And us out here in the Maritimes, we're still kicking at the can.
Yeah, thinking, here's our chance. Yeah. This is good. There should be a rule anyway. If you won a couple of Briars or something, you shouldn't be allowed to play in seniors. I figure give somebody else a chance before they're all done.
Yeah, I think they call that the Travelers Championships now.
Oh, do they? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Is this the idea behind those, with its own set of rules as to who can play based on what they've played in before?
Yeah, the revolving rules of Travelers curling. It's that's an interesting event. Ryan's referring to it. There is an event for technically club curlers that aren't participating at this level in provincial championships and whatnot that now has a national championship thanks to the good people at Travelers. Used to be Dominion. Great event, no question about it. Hopefully teams aren't dropping out of this stuff to play in that, but at the same time it's a marvelous opportunity for people that perhaps haven't had an opportunity to get to a national championship.
Exactly, and I think, let's say your team's successful in getting out of the province and plays in one of the national Travelers. It's a great exposure, great practice at that level, and who knows, maybe within a few years you are at this higher level of curling.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Then that's it. I think that's really, I guess there's two intents. That's certainly one of the intents, and the other is just to give the club curler a chance, and because they do have a special set of rules about who can play and how many years removed from playing in nationals and all that stuff. I think it still needs a little bit of work. I'm not convinced that they're exactly there yet, but they're getting closer. So time for Tyler Gamble to make a shot here. These guys are getting themselves in a little bit of trouble, but one good shot should take that away. Robby's got to keep going on this one.
Settle in for second shot, it appears.
Yeah, good shot, but I really think that, just 1 second here, I'm all over the court. Yeah, I think that, he needed to get that one there because it takes all the heat off if you get there, but now I think it can be removed. A tough shot, but Neil, I think, can probably just pick it through that hole. But that would leave the same opportunity again, I guess. So.
Yeah, and I think that's what Paul's thinking, because he has reverted to the hit they're talking about, but I think he was talking about just coming down to it at first. Yeah. And maybe setting up an angle where the next hit would send it through the hole and leaving a yellow there.
Yeah.
I guess the downside of that is if you ever tap it a few inches, you could make a shot rock.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll see what happens here. Looks like Neil's going to hit it anyways, that's for sure. Tom Bragnalo's going hard on it, trying to help it curl a little bit.
Kind of surprised. The angle looks good here.
Wow.
No mistake.
Great sweeping job there. Tommy did a marvelous job helping that one over. Good shot by Neil Gallant, and we'll see the same shot again for the MacLeod team.
We told you about the 3-ender scored from Chad Stevens on ice 2. We have another 3-ender scored by Jamie Dambrook on ice 3, and he'll take the lead on Brent McDougall 4-2.
Yeah, Jamie's had the week off from making ice here at the Mayflower Curling Club to play in the event. It's probably been a few days this week when he was just working and not curling because he's had a bit of a tough go this week. But
yeah, he's another team though that's had a lot of close games and
a good team. They've had some good results this year. It just hasn't worked. That's just the way it is when you're playing competition at this level. Sometimes it's pretty tough. Not a great shot here by Glen, I don't think, unless it makes an awful big curl here at the end.
Oh, they really never got the line they were looking for on that one, and now Paul Dexter's looking, is there a chance to come to the inside of that stone?
I'll tell you, if you get to the inside, it's going to be awfully tough on the MacLeod team here. That was the shot they needed there. They needed Glen to make that freeze, and whether or not your shot rock didn't really matter there. Just kind of had to get it over a little bit more.
Yeah. And Chad Stevens successful in forcing Jamie Murphy to the single in the fourth end. He'll continue to lead Jamie 3-2, and he has hammer in the fifth. So the stellar play continues from Chad Stevens' team this morning. There we go with Mark Robar's first stone.
It'll be hard to hold this one.
Yeah, this one's curling fast and curling early. See Tom Bragnalo trying to hold the line there, and it will wreck out in front.
One of the few mistakes we've seen Mark Robar make over the last couple days. I don't know what happened there, whether or not he was just a little bit tight or a little bit light. Looked like it had enough weight for what I would think they were trying to do.
Sometimes that happens. You're really trying to get tight to those guards, and there's no room for error.
Still a tough call for the MacLeod rank here. They've got to figure out where's the best place to go.
Yeah, original indication from Peter being a corner freeze on the one top button. I don't mind that call, really. I think it's a good placement.
Yeah, right on the center line, maybe make sure that they can't come off your blue one. This is where it's kind of interesting because, Glen calls the game generally, but now it's his second shot, so you've got Peter in the house calling Glen's shots, and sort of trying to get input from the rest of the team, but it's a long ways down there. It's 144 feet or 128 feet or something down to the other end. It's quite a ways anyway, so.
Yeah, I think when the setup is like this on a team, it becomes that much more important that communication be really clear between the whole team to make sure that not only the skip has a plan in mind, that the whole team knows what the plan is, and that way they're able to throw the right stones in succession without
Yeah, I agree.
Guessing too much.
Yeah, good looking shot here for Glen. If he can get it just a little bit further. Not quite, but maybe not too bad. It just depends if he can get to that one. I really like to see, I think if I was coaching these guys, I'd tell them that, you know, you can eat up a lot of time if you're both in the house all the time, but in a situation like this, which has the potential to be a game breaker, I think you got to come down and have a look at that one. You're not going to be close on time anyway, so come on down, have a chat about it, make sure everybody knows what we're doing and where even where the tolerances are for the miss and all that kind of stuff. So, not that was what caused the outcome of that one. Well, it doesn't matter anyway. Paul's going to hit it, which...
Yeah, I think Paul sees an opportunity here to get this one and the one on the 4-foot out. And with only 2 skip stones to go for Glen MacLeod, Paul Dexter be sitting pretty with hammer.
Yeah, I agree.
Starting to count up the yellows here.
Yeah, just off the nose, I guess, on the inside maybe, or almost nose, but not just off the nose would probably do it. This one's got to do some curling. I'll tell you what, this could be bad. Yeah. This could be real bad.
He's going to kill one of these yellows, and he's going to leave the blue one there, and the shooter's going to roll to cover it on top of that. So not the desired result there for Robar.
What a change up in this end. I mean, Glen's still got to be a little bit careful, no question, but it looks a whole lot better than it did a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah, does it ever. It's a tight battle there between a pair of 4-1 teams next door on sheet 5. As Stuart Thompson successful in forcing his opposition to 1. Sean Adams takes 1 in the 4. Leads Stuart Thompson 2-1. Thompson with hammer in the 5th.
Jamie Danbrook's struggles continue over there. Just
he was sitting really pretty in that end earlier as well, and now it seems it'll be a draw for 2 for Brent McDougall, or maybe even a little hit for 3. We'll keep you updated on how it ends.
Yeah. So these guys still looking at this one, and the concern here is that you're still in a position where you could easily give up a 2 or 3 ender if you're not careful. So just taking a couple extra seconds, make sure they know what they want to do. You're thinking, well, why don't you just come around the blue one at the top of the 12-foot. Problem is, if you come around half bury and only end up, just above the tee line, there's a pretty simple double for the Dexter team. So, not an easy call. Adams' team playing with a substitute Ian Fitzgerald-Blanc, who unfortunately for him didn't get through the qualifiers. Been asked to play with the Adams team, which was great for Ian. Regular second stone Craig Saville, as probably most of our viewers know, is undergoing cancer treatments and chemotherapy right now, and wishing Craig the best. Hopefully he's taking in a game or 2 here as he's doing okay. So we're hoping he has a speedy recovery and is able to get back on the ice here soon. In the meantime, Ian Fitzgerald-Blanc is going to throw the rock and sweep as hard as he can sweep. He's a skip, so it's not always easy. The nice thing he said the other day that with one sweeper they don't need him a whole lot. They can just this new sweeping style, as long as Andrew's body holds up, he can kind of carry the load.
Yeah, and Ian, not a bad pickup there for Sean Adams' team. He's made a couple Briars himself out of Nova Scotia here, and the whole curling community really rallying behind Craig Saville. I know a lot of us were shocked to find out the news when that came out a few weeks ago, and sending him all the support.
Yeah, you're right. Ian's a good player and a great demeanor. He's just a pretty even keel kind of guy and not going to cause you any grief as far as the team goes or anything like that. So a little bit of defense being played here by the MacLeod team, hitting the 3rd stone.
I'm kind of surprised at that, but I think they saw the potential you saw, Jim, and that placing a rock in the wrong spot could really result in a multiple score for Paul Dexter. So just removing yellows.
Yeah, it was a tough call, that one. I don't know what's the right call there. Part of me says I'm not a fan of that shot, even if it had worked, but at the same time, I can't really come up with anything better. So,
Yeah, and I think that might be what they were feeling as well.
It's kind of that feeling when you're coaching and the team calls a timeout and you got to go talk about it, and you're sitting up here the whole time saying, well, I don't know what
I'm going to tell them.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it's timeout. It's like, oh, man. You guys figure it out.
That's right, and it has Paul Dexter and his third Mark Robar in a good discussion as well, but looks like he's going to attempt the double here to lay 2.
Well, yeah, and as we've said all week, the guys can all throw it so hard now that this is not a very hard double, and that's what concerns me a little bit with the shot that those guys have played a minute ago. And if he makes this, he's got, you know, he's going to be sitting 2, and one of them totally buried, and the other one's gettable, but not sure you end up with a great result other than giving up a 2-ender. But anyway, it's done. We'll see what Paul does with this one. Certainly a very makeable double, but not a crazy easy one. Pretty easy to hit it and move it just to the other side of the 4-foot buried behind the guards.
Yeah, he's going to throw the outside in turn here with both rocks so flat in height. That's going to help his roll. It's going to make the rock bounce a little flatter across, so you'll need a bit more speed to get the rocks moving. And he's definitely coming down with that speed that he needs that we talked about. Here we go, Tom Bragnalo trying to hold the line. Does he have the double? No mistake from Paul Dexter as he pushes that blue to the side of the 12-foot. Settles T-line to lay 2 yellow stones with hammer here in the 4th.
Yeah, it's not sure Peter wouldn't like to have his first one back. I think he just it was inevitable it was going to end up in a bad place. But a great shot by Paul. Did exactly what we said. Hit it, stayed totally behind the corner guard. I really think Peter's going to be forced to hit this one in the back of the 4-foot, try to stay and say, okay, you hit and stick and you get your 2, because he can't afford to drop 3. And there's no real nice, easy-looking draw coming in there where you can take the end away.
Oh, do you think there's room coming into the 1 tee line? If you paper the top yellow and probably end up papering the second yellow.
To come which way?
Coming in this way, coming away from center.
Yeah. I don't think, I think you're either going to do that, which is the in-turn draw around the guard and kind of throw it up there and hope that you get out of this end. I really don't. I'm really not against the out-turn takeout and giving up your 2 and moving on from there. But these guys are taking the approach that they've got to win and they've got to make it happen, and more power to them for doing so. And they're going to play the out-turn come around.
Yeah, I like this aggressive call. It's you always hate throwing a shot that you're throwing just because there's no better option.
Yeah,
here's a way to put the pressure back on the Dexter team. And
I think if you make this, I think you're right. I think there's a good opportunity to steal a point or force Paul to draw the button to score 1. So nothing wrong with it. You just got to make it.
That's right. It'll be interesting to see if Paul Dexter lines up any kind of angle raise for a multiple score there on the yellow.
This looks a little warm coming down here.
Has to settle in a good spot first, and it's not curling yet. Both sweepers just spectators at this point. And it's not curling because he threw it just a bit too heavy as it slides to the back 8-foot. And he will come in for 4th shot, but that won't be good enough. Paul Dexter's going to have a draw for 3. He's going to throw that same turn he just saw Peter throw, because there's some backing on that side. I guess there's backing on either side. But he can come down to that blue stone and count 3rd shot, no problem.
Well, that was like the all-or-nothing shot there for sure. And, you know, if you're going to win at this level, you got to play a few of those and make a few of those. So give the MacLeod rink kudos for attempting to set up the steal on 1 there. But unfortunately for them, they've given Paul an opportunity to have a pretty easy draw for 3. Pretty hard to miss this one. You'd have to throw this one really hard. It's got all kinds of backing. Any weight from T-line to probably back line or a little more will make this shot. He's working a little bit on this. Just got to make sure this doesn't hit the guards.
Line looks good so far. Sweepers are on it now. Just want to make sure it gets to the 8-foot for 3. Mark Robar, his hand up already. He's confident in the making of the shot and no mistake. draws to the top of the 8 foot for the 3rd point. Paul Dexter with a 3-score in the 4th end will go up 4-1 on defending champions Glen MacLeod, trying to play spoiler here and give MacLeod a 4th loss, which would take him out of playoff contention here at the East Coast Credit Union Tankard. We're at the Mayflower Curling Club in the north end of Halifax. You can watch us online, or you can come watch some of the action in person here at the club. Some great curling. Got 4 sheets of ice in action all day. Actually have 4 draws today. The men and women will both play twice as we wrap up round robin.
Yeah, you know, I expect to see the MacLeod team bounce right back here. They've been down in some games before, and I expect them to come back with a good end here. Maybe get a deuce and get right back in it. Certainly, I wouldn't say that the dagger's all the way in from the Dexter team, but certainly a pocket knife kind of entered a little bit in there. So
yeah, it was a good end for the Dexter team there, and nothing really got going for MacLeod's team. And throw a couple misses in there, and it's hard to not come out of it without giving the opposition some points.
Yeah, for sure. So it's certainly down 3 after 4 ends is not the end of the world, but it does make for some pretty hard work having to go on here. Be crucial to throw a lot of good shots this end and work your way back in. You'll see some corner guards for sure. And
now that Paul Dexter has the lead, he has no problem throwing that first stone in the rings. He's going to make Glen MacLeod force the issue and try to mount his comeback.
Good strategy for any young teams, or any teams really, that are trying to look at playing at a competitive level. That, you know, you have to be aggressive at times. You got to go after some things, and this is a situation. That's why they're not hitting that rock in the house. And Robby's still really struggling just a little bit with the draw weight. You know, that works, but that's pretty high, and no matter where you come around that one, I think it's probably removable for the Dexter team. So
yeah, I think so, Jim. With the amount of curl we've seen here at the Mayflower this week, Ice Makers doing an excellent job, even bringing in some outside work with John Wall coming in from the Ottawa region to help the Ice Makers this week.
Yeah, it's been great. I've actually been able to watch a little bit because we obviously have a mentorship program with the NSCA and the Ice Techs, and I've seen John work with the guys here, and some of the guys in that group have been in town, and you know, you'll see him out there, and he's got the Ice King going, or indicating the pebbling stroke and all that kind of stuff. So that's really awesome, and I think he's been a big help to the guys, and thanks for doing that. He doesn't have to do that part. He can really just come in here and make the ice and collect his paycheck and go on home. But instead, he's helping the guys on the East Coast get better at their
helping the greater Nova Scotia curling community with that. That's very nice of him for sure. And a nice guard placed there by Tom Bragnalo. Once again, we saw quite a bit of a lower rotation from Tom, and it caused that rock to just warp to its desired position, hog line in. You know, that might be something that Paul Dexter knows and has worked into the line call for Tom's shots, because we've seen it a few times now.
Robby's late again. Just a real struggle for Rob today. You know, and can't say anything about the rocks. I think the rocks are great, but when a good player like that struggles for draw weight, sometimes it makes you wonder if things might be just a little different than he thinks. But we'll see if we can kind of get a little bit of a time on the draws. And
here comes first stone from Neil here, and it's definitely better rotation on this one, but it's still gonna curl. Mark Robar trying to hold the line there, and he's successful in getting it by. And you know, Jim, I think if that would have been Tom's rock with Tom's rotation, that would have been all over the guard.
Yeah, I think you're right, yeah. Nice shot by Neil for sure. The Dexter team's come to play today. No question about that.
That's right, as we mentioned, trying to play spoiler on the defending champions Glen MacLeod as they try to stay in it. The record of 2-3 coming in this morning.
It's never good, you know. You're down 3 and you're playing clearing shots in the front. That's never a good sign. It's, you really don't want to have to be playing these kinds of shots when you're down multiple points, but you also have to score at some point here, so he has no choice really but to play this. Glen's actually trying to get a little more out of this than just a straight peel. Yeah. you'll see here in a second that this rock will go that way.
Kick into the house. And
so, you know, I think Glen was hoping if he could get it right, hit a little thicker, it actually would have bounced a little more left. Maybe ended up behind the corner.
Sure, yeah.
It's great. A lot of people wouldn't see that. You know, certainly curlers at this level see that kind of stuff. But, you know, for you at home, once again, for teams that are, you know, trying to be competitive teams, try to get a little more out of shots sometimes. Sometimes there's not really any change. Same shot. You just gotta notice something about what's going on out there.
Yeah, we noticed that even more at the professional level, as well as you see a lot more. What comes to mind is the peel and roll to center guard shot, which you see a lot more of now. It's not enough to just peel the corner guard, as you can roll your shooter to also place a center guard, and like Jim said, you're getting two things out of one stone.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good call there from Glen MacLeod on his first one, but unfortunately the blue stone was still available for a takeout, and Paul Dexter successful in that.
Yeah, exactly. But even just following up on, but what it did do for Glen was it put a rock somewhere that Paul had to deal with. So now instead of just throwing a guard on that same two rocks he had in the house, he had to hit that. So now it's open.
Yeah.
So now you have a chance. So
now Glen MacLeod has a chance to use that corner guard, but this will over curl for Tyler Gamble here, and that's a similar line we saw with Robby's corner, and Robby's corner really got far out there as well, and as a result, with the weight coming off, was a little high as well, and we kind of just saw that from Tyler Gamble as well. It seemed to take off right out of his hand. I don't know if it stood a chance. So definitely a warpy piece of ice there, and Glen MacLeod not making the adjustment on the broom yet.
Yeah, I think the guys will be getting a little bit frustrated. They're not used to struggling that much with the basic shots for sure. Even Peter sitting down the other end. I'm not sure they usually have ever seen Peter sit down. Yeah, that sort of body language sort of indicates maybe just a little bit of frustration. Just sit down, take a breath, and try to
for sure. As Paul Dexter now tries to place a guard on the center stones, he is laying 3 here without hammer.
That one's pretty high too, so again, now the problem is, do you have to play a peel or not? Well, I think you might. I'm not so sure. You can certainly hit the outside one here and hit it right on the nose and sit there. Just looking at our screen. It's great pictures. It's an awesome picture.
Yeah, that's right. I suppose if you wanted to send something of your own color back instead, you could choose the one Tyler Gamble just threw and throw it into the pile of yellow, and when it's all said and done, you might have a blue behind cover.
Well, exactly, yeah.
But he's going to go after the open one.
I think some sort of a down weight shot here, trying to make sure you get at least close to the other one. I'm not totally sure. I don't think you can get to the other one enough to move it. They don't know their weight signals, but it looks like Glen's throwing maybe a board plus kind of a control weight shot here.
Yeah, there's not a lot of weight coming down. I think he wants to come really tight to the guard and get to the inside and maybe corner freeze on that other one. And
whoa. Holy cow.
He actually hits the one behind cover first and stays top 12.
Curlers just doing the impossible here today.
I didn't think that was by, and once it got by, there was no air between those rocks.
Oh, I know. He hit half of it. Like, it wasn't he just even hit an inch of it. He hit half of it. Like, wow.
Yeah, great curl again.
But you're right. It took a lot of guts to let it get that close to the guard.
Yeah. It's a little tick there. Paul Dexter throws another guard, and then Glen MacLeod's team would be in real trouble.
Yeah, it totally changes the end. No matter what Mark does on this shot, now the MacLeod team actually has an opportunity So you'll see some, probably maybe a little hit and roll off the outside, or maybe the straight draw. Yeah, Peter's calling the straight draw.
Yeah, so he thinks with draw weight there's enough room to miss the guard and miss the one in the house. If you're looking at it, I'm just behind the line here. It's almost edge on edge, but with draw weight, that should curl enough to get past both those stones.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yep, it certainly comes pretty hard. It's interesting because earlier in the week it was running down there. It would finish pretty good on this sheet, but it didn't go early at all. And today we're just seeing a little bit earlier move, which gives you a little bit more curl, which is great. Now this thing will really curl hard from here on in.
Robby McLean trying to hold the line
Did
here.
Lose it?
Does he have another squeaker? No, that one's going to tick the yellow rock. And that's unfortunate for Glen as he leaves Paul Dexter lying 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, really unfortunate. They weren't really going that hard on that one. I thought
yeah,
they must have thought it was going to get by, but
that's right.
It's a tough call again, but tough calls you got to make if you're going to win here. So they won't be super happy with that one. A big end over on the Danbrook-McDougall game, Ryan.
Yeah, as you can tell on our shot there, this sheet of ice, all of a sudden, the only one in action. That's because the other 3 games have reached their 5th end break. And as Jim was alluding to in our game between Brent McDougall and Jamie Danbrook, it was a score of 4 for Jamie Danbrook in the 5th after the deuce by Brent to tie it up in 4. So Jamie's actually up 8-4 now as they return after for the 6th end. And Chad Stevens with a single in 5 against Jamie Murphy continues to lead that one 4-2. And just a few minutes ago, we saw Stuart Thompson here make a triple takeout for 2 in the 5th, and he scores the first deuce of that game and goes up 3-2 on Sean Adams.
I mentioned the Ice Tech team. Just a little kudos to their ice maker from the Blue Nose Club in New Glasgow, where I play, is sweeping the ice over on sheet 2. Nick Roy does a great job for us in New Glasgow, and was the ice maker for the qualifier just a week ago, and ice received rave reviews in New Glasgow. So nice to see Nick here helping out and trying to learn a little bit from John Wall and the guys.
Yeah, that's great. So Paul Dexter trying to follow Glen MacLeod's shot down here. This one definitely has a bit more line, but it should curl at the end. You see Tom Bragnalo on there now with the directional sweeping by the guard. Now will he miss the 2 in the rings? Appears he's just going to slide past, and look at that wonderful line as he slides to the top of the 4-foot, completely buried. Wonderful shot there from Paul Dexter.
And what made that shot even that much better, if they needed anything, is the fact that it stayed above the tee line.
Yeah.
So Peter's not able to just follow him down and sit on it, so now he actually has to move something. I dare say the MacLeod team's in a world of hurt here. They're just there's not a lot going on here that's good. I think you're going to see him play the run back here, actually.
I think so, And he doesn't have much on that angle raise on the blue that he just threw, I think he would just stuff it.
Yeah,
one top 4.
And even if it didn't, Ryan, the problem is
getting anything out of it.
Yeah, you can make the double with it and get rid of 2, but they're still going to be sitting 2. Now you would have a little better opportunity probably in your last one to score, but certainly no chance to score 2.
Yeah, that would probably be the main reason to throw that stone.
But anyway, you know what? If you can make this one, you ever hit it right on the yellow, kick it over a little bit, you still might score 2.
Run back attempt here from Peter Burgess. It's floating out a little wide now. Needs to come back, and it will not. What kind of action will he get here? He's going to hit his own blue and roll towards the center line area. It settles in for 3rd shot.
Yeah, I chuckle when you say number 3, but I'll tell you one thing about it. It does, if Paul's not careful, doesn't make sure he makes his shot, there might be some sort of a double or triple over here that would give up a deuce. Be one heck of a shot. Yeah, maybe not. You can't. I guess not. You can't hit the other one.
Your shooter. Yeah. To count.
The other one on the left-hand side would be a problem.
Yeah, exactly. I think if I'm Paul, I'm just guarding this all day, but I haven't really seen the indication just yet.
There you go.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think it's just the guard. Saw him indicate to his sweepers he'd like a number 3, which is a guard tight to the house. See if we can listen in on Paul Dexter here and his instructions to his sweepers. Yeah, some good communication there between Paul Dexter and his team, just talking about which speed is going to be required for this tight guard.
Paul makes this. I'm not sure what Peter's got left. Probably the in-off. You can already see they're already looking at it in the house.
Yeah, it's right.
Looks like this will do the job.
Yeah, it's got great line. Mark Robar, his broom goes up. Something I've noticed, Mark Robar likes to let his skip know that the shot is made as soon as he can. And boy, as a skip myself, I don't know if I can think of anything better.
Yeah.
I hope my third is listening.
Yeah. So we got a little outturn hit and flop here for the MacLeod team, and if there's a must-make shot this early in the game, this is it. It's, you know, if you give up a couple points here, even just give up 1 point here, it's going to be a struggle.
Yeah, Peter Burgess has to score here. I don't know. Thinks he can hit and roll into the button area, or?
Oh yeah, I think so, and I think he can. That's why he's throwing the little extra 8, because he has to be pretty flat with it.
Yeah.
So you know what? This is going to be
miss
real
the top
close.
yellow first, and he does. Here's the roll.
Is that any good?
Into the back of the button area for 1. A wonderful shot there from Peter Burgess as he saves his team from potential disaster here in the 5th end. Both teams now going to enter the 5th end break as Paul Dexter continues to lead 4-2 after that single by Glen. We're going to sign off for a few minutes here as the players grab some refreshments and have a little chat with their coach. We're going to do the same. We'll be back with you here on Bell TV1 for 6th end action just in a few minutes. So here we go, we're back underway in the 6th end as Robby McLean gets things started after that wonderful game saver of a shot from Peter Burgess in the 5th. Paul Dexter will have the hammer here in 6, up 2. All games now entering the second half of this crucial draw here at the Mayflower. Nice center guard placed from Robby there. He'll be happy with that after a bit of a struggle in the first half. And here's first stone, Tom Bragnalo throwing for Paul Dexter. Gonna try to come around that guard, top 8 position. Robar trying to make that rock curl into the center here. It's going to settle at the side of the button. Glen MacLeod noticing that he's in a bit of a trouble here, down 2 without hammers. He's going to throw the second guard. Or has he switched to the come around or just switched the turn? I'm sure we'll get an indication as the rock comes down here. Second rock coming from Robby McLean. I think he did kind of change the call to come into the house, and that one's going to settle top 8. It's going to be exposed on the right-hand side, so you're going to see Paul Dexter run after it with the lead and remove any blue stone that he can do so easily. This one's curling fast. We've seen that a lot on this on this path, especially with Tom Bragnalo's low rotation there. Gets an extra bit of curl on his rocks, and he manages to get to the inside of that stone and rolls a shooter behind cover. So great shot there from Tom. Top 3 teams after today will move on to the playoffs. First place getting a direct bye into Sunday's final, and that's what these teams are playing for here today. Not a bad throw there from Neil as he settles into the side of the forefoot. Good enough to talk Paul Dexter into peeling this guard. Seems to have come out a little narrow here, but no mistake. And sorry, that was a throw by Neil there. The blue stone being thrown by Tyler Gamble. And now the guards are gone, so Glen MacLeod, the decision to make. He's going to play the hit on the yellow. I'm kind of surprised at that, being down 2 without hammer. He thought he might try to push the issue for the steal a bit harder, but might be okay with the steal and then going for his deuce in 7. Does he have the double? Yes. No mistake as Glen MacLeod lays 2 without hammer here. Paul Dexter has an opportunity for a double of his own here, and that would really clear out any granite that's in the house at all. And that's, if you're Paul Dexter, you're okay with that, having the 2-point lead. just going to straight jam it, but gets rid of the top one. So Peter Burgess is going to call for Glen MacLeod to throw the guard here. So Steele's back on. You think if they were okay with just allowing Dexter to get one, they would split the house, but Dexter already has a lead of 2 here, so they really don't want Dexter to be getting any more points than necessary. Bad placement for the guard. Leaves the stone exposed on the left-hand side there as we see it, but it makes for a guard that's tighter to center. So if Paul Dexter ever rolls out, or Paul Dexter's third, Robar rather, rolls out on this attempt, you'll see Glen MacLeod wrap around that center guard, and just a slight clean on its way down here. Really like to save the shooter, and they'll do that no problem. Nice hit there from Mike Robar. And a couple sixth end updates to tell you about in our big games on sheets 2 and 5. Chad Stevens forcing Jamie Murphy to 1 in the 6th. Chad Stevens leads 4-3, and he'll have the hammer in the 7th. And a big score of 3 for Sean Adams in the game against Stuart Thompson. Sean Adams now up 5-3, but Thompson will have the hammer in the 7th. And a nice roll there from Glen MacLeod behind the guard. Peek out exposed just a few inches on the center line side. Probably enough for Paul Dexter to go after it. This one has some curling to do, but we've seen it warp over nice on this side earlier, and Neil's going to try to make it warp over there with directional sweeping. Does he have enough of the blue? He didn't throw a lot of weight there, so the shooter's going to hang around shot rock edge of the 4 and pushes the blue to the left-hand side, sitting second shot. I don't know if he would have had enough weight to really make the takeout there anyways. Might have just been playing to tap it back to this back of the rings. First stone here from MacLeod skip, or fourth stone thrower rather. Peter Burgess playing the hit on the yellow. They have to sweep this one for line. Really like to save the shooter. And it looks like Tyler Gamble's sweeping was effective there, and it says as it rolls to the side of the button. See Paul Dexter lining up the angle there. There's a bit of a double opportunity for him here. Saw Paul make one of these great doubles earlier. See if he can duplicate that result. steal of 1 for Jamie Danbrook over on sheet 3. So he has a commanding lead now on Brent McDougall, 9-4. Here we go with Paul Dexter's double attempt. This one has to curl a little bit. Flop over just to be on the side of that blue stone. Not a bad result for Paul. It's going to force Peter to do something with it. It is shot stone. So Peter Burgess calling for the hit on this yellow stone and should lay 2 after that, and that should be good enough to force Dexter into taking a single. He needs to hold the shooter or else Dexter will have the opportunity for the blank. As I'm joined back here by our fellow commentator Jim Nix. Welcome back, Jim.
Thanks, Ryan. Sorry about that. Just our curling director, actually, from the curling club in New Glasgow was in and just had a few things we had to kind of talk about. Not sure they had anything to do with curling, but we had to talk about them.
Yes, of course. There's no worries about that. It's an event like this will bring together the whole Nova Scotia curling community often at the same event, same club, and you see lots of people that you haven't seen in a long time or that you do see a lot and you don't mind seeing again.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. And good to see whether it's Danny or whether it's all kinds of other people from the valley and all over the place to drop in and take in the curling. Nice to know that they're interested and they'll be here. I expect we'll see lots of people from outside the metro area over the next 2 days, 2.5 days. It's going to be great.
It's all about getting that Friday workday in and then it's freedom.
That's right. Yeah, I didn't ask him about that. I don't know why he's here on Friday morning.
I guess some of us have a bit more freedom than others.
Yeah, do we ever? Yeah. So this one's hanging out pretty good, I think, isn't it? Yeah. He better not just hit a little tiny bit, or he might end up giving up a steal or 2 here.
This has to curl. And he is going to get that outside roll, and it will be a steal of 1 for the defending champions, Glen MacLeod, as they pull to within 1. Score will now be 4-3. Paul Dexter will keep the hammer in the 7th. Really steal from out of nowhere there, Jim.
Yeah, I think, it's interesting too, Ryan, when you have a situation like that and that happens, it doesn't seem like a big deal. It's 1 point. Dexter still got the lead with the hammer, but something like that can totally change the momentum in a game. The other team all of a sudden feels pretty good. It's like, wow, we thought we were going to be down 5-2 and we're down 4-3. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. And Paul's team, as we know, has had a little bit of a struggle this week, so they'll have to get over that. Still in control of the game for sure, but a nice point for the MacLeod team to get as they try to fight hard to stay alive here.
Yeah, for sure. Momentum huge in curling games, as in most sports, and you can really feel after that the momentum swinging towards Glen MacLeod's team.
So 7 then, 4 to go here. The MacLeod team's still a little bit under the gun. They need to get back in this if they're going to keep their hopes alive of repeating here. At the East Coast Credit Union Tankard, they're going to need to still pick it up a notch, and Peter backing away from this one. I'm thinking that this one might be getting awfully close to the house. I'm not sure.
As we see it come in there, settles nice and tight to the Deloitte sign, and it will bite the ring. So that's another mistake there from Robby McLean, and he won't be happy with that.
No, Robby's just had a nightmare of a game, and he's a good player. It just doesn't happen, and just can't get a feel for the draw weight. And you and I both know how that can be. Sometimes it's just not there.
Exactly.
As the lead, you're saying, well, man, I only have to hit about 15 feet of ice, and it's okay. But sometimes that 15 feet might as well be 15 inches.
That's right. Sometimes you have the weight in your back pocket, and sometimes you couldn't have the weight if the house is just a few feet away.
Yeah, exactly. If you're playing a game of shorts or something, yeah. Anyway, another chance to throw up the guard. The bad thing for the MacLeod team, or the tough part now, is you're going to throw the guard up with a yellow one in the house, and it's it just would be nicer to be throwing the second guard up now and without a lot of danger. But so be it. Time to take a risk and see if we can get back in here.
Yeah, still a long end. We saw what happened last end. Glen MacLeod still able to come out with a steal, even though there was not many guards in play towards the end there, and that's a better effort from Robby there. And you got to wonder, I know Robby can be a little hard on himself. You can tell he really wants to make every shot that he throws, and you have to wonder if that doesn't eat up at him mentally as the game progresses with a few misses
I think
that.
Yeah, I think it has to. It's just it's unfortunate, and it'll be up to the guys on his team. You know what? You gotta really. Different guys need different stroking, if you want to call it that. Some guys really need a little bit of coddling. Other guys are like, hey, leave me alone, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But teams work on that, and they know what their teammates need, and whatever it is Robby needs to kind of get through this and feel good about the rest of the game is what he'll get from his teammates. So
that's right.
He's got 8. What's he got? 6 rocks, 7, 8, 9. We're in 10, so he's got 6 shots to go, and they're going to all be really important in getting the MacLeod team back in the game here. So he'll have to figure it out. Meanwhile, we move on to the second stone, Tyler Gamble.
Yeah, that's right. It's a good recovery there from Robby, and made the guard on the second stone, and little slipping behind the tee line there for the lead on Paul Dexter's team, Tommy Bragnalo. So bit of a break for Glen MacLeod.
Well, absolutely, definitely a mistake by Tommy. No question about it. And it's sometimes our viewers at home might think we're being a little critical, but these guys are playing at the top level, and they're not supposed to make those little mistakes that you and I make in our club games. And
that's right. And something else the viewers might be thinking at home is Robby throws lead stones, and there was conventional theory maybe years ago now, it's maybe a decade ago, is that the lead just didn't have to be as good as the other players. But that's really changed in the sport as every position has really evolved into having its crucial role in the development of the end. And thank the free guard zone rule for that. So Robby definitely as important as any other player on this team, and often those lead shots are often some of the more important stones that really have to be made to give your team a chance in an end. And a wonderful double peel there from the Buott substitution, Neil.
Yeah, great double peel. That's a problem. You would have liked to have been able to line up the guards there, but it didn't work. But you know what, Ryan, that's an excellent point you just made. You used to basically figure as long as the lead was strong enough, you could carry the broom bag and drive the car and get you home at night and everything. That's all you really needed. It didn't matter if you made any shots. And nowadays it's completely the opposite. As you know, you mentioned you skip, and I do mostly skipping in my time, and when you notice the lead is when they're playing poorly, and it's such a different game when your lead is putting the rocks where you need them to be. The game is so different. It's so much easier. It's just you get to control the end. You get to just have a really nice feel for it. You're not chasing all the time. It's just totally different game for a team when the lead's on, and they usually are. Yeah,
and I'm sure Robby knows that, and that plays into how hard he can be on himself.
Absolutely, no question about that. So the MacLeod team trying to get out of this end now, whether they really don't have much going with the guards being gone. So they're going to play some takeouts, and hopefully at some point for them, somebody's going to be Glen or Peter will make a double, and they'll get out of here with either a blank or maybe Paul might hit and stick or something. But a maximum 1 point difference anyways. And
buying themselves some time there with that steal in the 6th end.
Yeah. Still
4 ends to go, and the deficit is just 1.
Yeah, you'd hate to give up a 2 here and get back to being 3 down with only 3 to go. And
can tell you about an update on sheet 5 as we watch this stone come down from Glen MacLeod. Tyler Gamble really trying to hold the line. This one's going to over curl and roll out the side. As I mentioned, sheet 5, Sean Adams successful in defending his lead and forcing Stuart Thompson to 1. So Thompson will pull to within 1. The score is 5-4, but Adams will have the lead and the hammer coming home, or coming into the 8th end, rather.
Yeah, it's, Peter made a little bit of an audible there and tried to go for the thin double when it didn't look like it was going to stay. And now you look at it and say, well, might as well kept sweeping it and stayed in the house because Paul would have hit it, I'm sure. But that's a decision you have to make sometimes, and if you call it right, you look like a genius, and the world is all going around in the right circles again. But
that's right.
But it didn't happen. Looks to me like he might have another shot at a double here, though, unless these are really, really flat. Yeah, I think it's makeable. You don't think?
Seem pretty even. I think if you come across the nose of the center one, you might be able to bounce it over flat enough to at least freeze onto it there.
Well, we'll see.
Glen MacLeod's thinking about it. He's asking Peter, no double?
Peter's looking, thinking, well, if we can set it exactly here as a draw, we can put it in a position where if he plays it, he will make the double for us, but Glen's not quite as convinced.
No, I think the hit and roll is a better result here anyways. It might keep the force or the steal alive.
I agree. I think it's the same shot, though, Ryan. I really think you've got to hit so much of this. Sometimes it's not. You've got to hit so much of this that to call the hit and roll is basically the same thing as calling the double. So,
yeah, that's true.
Anyway, we'll see. He's going to take a run at it. This one will be moving pretty good, I think. Not Glen's specialty, the big weight shot, but a little wide. Probably going to do a little right here, try to get this to curl a little.
Yeah, they're hitting this one pretty thin, and I'm right behind that stone, Jim, and I have to say, as soon as Tyler put the broom down, it's almost as if the stone backed up even more.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah, because it had about half the stone, and Tyler put a broom down, it just backed up further from the center line. So.
Anyway, it's not a good result for the MacLeod team because now it gives Mark Robar the chance to split the house here, and if you think the last double was tough, this one's going to be really tough.
Yeah, that's right. Paul Dexter looking to count as 2 with hammer here.
The MacLeod team, a bit of the help they need from the other teams out here is, Adams up 1 playing 8 with the hammer, and Stevens tied up playing 8 with the hammer, but so far they're just not doing the part that they need to do. So
yeah, that's right.
Peter looking at the double here, but wow, that would be a stretch. So I guess the plan here, Ryan, try to hit it, roll at least halfway to the other one, and hope that you might get a nose hit or a roll the wrong way. And
we saw this exact situation yesterday, though, and Peter making a roll, like you said, just about halfway to the other one. You get a nose hit from the other team, and then Peter makes the double on his second, and all of a sudden you're out of trouble. So
yep,
not over yet here for Glen MacLeod's team. And
no, absolutely.
As Jim mentioned, it is tied up now on sheet 2 between Jamie Murphy and Chad Stevens, and that's due to a steal from Jamie Murphy, so he's tied it up. Chad Stevens will still have the hammer in the 8th end, trying to remain undefeated.
These are shots that Peter throws really well, throws a big weight well. I got that out right.
It's definitely going to roll here. And geez, just rolls a rock higher. He makes the double there.
And that was a lot closer than I thought he could come, actually, to making the double. When you compare last end, when we thought that shot was going to be tough. Wow. Or last end, sorry, the last shot.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, he definitely had an angle there, and he came at it the right way. I think we outside in gave him a bit flatter of a roll for that distance, but still managed to roll under it, and Paul Dexter's just going to continue to split the house here.
Yeah, I must confess, I've got sort of starting to get that. You're sort of educating me on that double sort of deal, because as much as I hear that and think about it, I get the spinning action and everything else, but I always have a little trouble figuring out the flatness and versus the angles, and maybe that just comes from the guys I play with. And
yeah, I used to throw outside in and everything, the natural preference, and those hit and rolls, especially off the wings, you really do notice the difference you're throwing inside out at them. And it just, the physics are there to back it up. Just has to do with how the rock bounces off. It's the same. It's similar to the theory of the drag effect, or getting angles to move a certain way based on the direction you're sending the first stone, and the physics are there to back it up. So it's it's an extra level of awareness you can have in a curling game, and who knows? At the end of the day, maybe you make an extra shot or two because of that.
Well, Peter definitely has a chance. It's not a double you'd want to make all the time, but it might be one that you have to play here, and definitely has enough angle no matter which way he wants to go on this one to try to make it.
Yeah, this one definitely really steep, a lot steeper, and it appears to me that he's going to keep throwing that outside in turn. Now with this one, it means he's going to have to hit the first stone really thin,
yeah.
Especially with this turn, to get it to go low enough onto the other one. But You know he'll be close. He was really close on the last one.
Yeah, because going this way, I think when he makes contact, the actual rotation of the stone changes, right? Like it goes from the in-turn rotation to the out-turn. And when he does it the other way, it just keeps that same.
Yeah, that's a good point as well, yeah.
Anyway, this will be close, but he can't afford to miss it.
Yeah, he's really close to flashing this one, Jim. Oof, just gets a piece.
That was the danger, really the danger with that turn. It's just, there's not a lot of error on either turn, but at least when you're coming into the stone, you're usually going to get a little better result. You're not going to miss it. It's hard to let the rock curl almost past and then sweep it. So
yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so unfortunately for the MacLeod team, after stealing one and kind of getting back to where they wanted to be in the game, they're going to drop a pretty easy two-ender here. Dexter team didn't have to work very hard for this one, and that's never a good thing. And probably going to go down 3, but he has to make it. Paul has to hit the house here, and although it shouldn't be much of a problem. Sorry, stumbling through that one.
You know, Jim, it seems like we're picking on Robby this morning, but this deuce here really set up and started by Robby's miss slipping into the rings on the first stone.
You know, well, that's just the way. That's just reality, I guess, in the game nowadays, Ryan. It's you know, if you have a tough game at the lead position, your team's going to probably have a tough time, you know, getting into the right game plan and everything. So yeah.
Nice draw there from Paul.
You can see Robby just bouncing the broom down there. He knows it.
Yeah,
he doesn't have to.
Yeah, exactly.
To have to be told or anything else. He knows it. Really, it's up to him to get it going, and he's not alone. He certainly didn't give up 3 in the 4th and 2 in the 7th just by himself. So it's not that, but it's just the way the game is. You definitely have to do things. So have to perform.
And a wonderful last shot from Brent McDougall on our other feature sheet as he makes a double angle raise takeout 4-3. He'll pull to within 2 of Jamie Danbrook. Danbrook up 9-7 with the hammer playing 8.
Yeah, it's Brent was almost at the handshake position in that game until that shot for sure. So nice shot by Brent. Brent's a good player. He's been around for a long time. He plays a lot. He's probably played anybody, and if he could find 3 other guys that would play in the 2 weekends that he has off all year, he'd play in those. So but really made himself into a great curler over the last number of years. I remember when Brent used to play lead for anybody out of Sydney, and we talked even about playing together one time way back, no, I don't know, a lot of years ago, before we were 30 years old instead of 50 and 55 and 60 years old. But anyway, it's you know, he came down, he decided he was going to skip and put some teams together and went to the national mixed. He's obviously done really well at the Postals over the years and nationally done well. So just a good player, great guy. Always welcomes up his home to friends and family that are in town. I've stayed there once or twice and been invited many times. So
is that right?
Yeah, good guy.
You mentioned yesterday he has a really objective look at his games, and that kind of comes through in his personality. Really down to earth guy.
Exactly. Yeah. And he runs probably what's the premier bonspiel in Atlantic Canada. You know, as far as all of our type teams go too. So in the Dave Jones spiel, that's in November, I think, the end of November, somewhere around there. Yep. Here at the Mayflower Club, and great bonspiel, won this year by Brad Gushu, and Brent does bring in as many of the top teams as he can into the area and putting on a great show. And TV1 was there for that event as well. Did some games there. That was a lot of fun, and
it was good competition there that weekend for sure. And Brent, I believe, was runner-up in one of those Canadian mixed.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, I didn't. I should have known that, but I didn't. So, yeah, probably with Christina Black maybe playing third for him.
Yeah.
Tell you, with Christina playing third for you, you better do pretty well, because if it's not, it's your fault, because she doesn't miss.
Yeah, that's right. It's a lot of shots.
Yeah.
So back to our feature game here. We're playing the 8th end. And a couple stones thrown to the top of the 4-foot for Tommy Bragnalo. Paul Dexter with the lead, not forcing the issue with any guards. And we saw Glen MacLeod throw both corners there, noticing, you know, he's down by 3. He's going to need at least one of those to generate his deuce. And a good effort there from Robby McLean on both his stones this end.
Yeah, we picked Robby a little bit in a way, so we got to give him kudos here. They threw 2 perfect shots right across from each other, so no issues on that. And a big miss there by by second stone Neil Glen. Neil's had a couple of misses today. Made some great shots, but has had a couple.
Yeah, that's definitely the miss you're waiting for if you're Glen, and you get it pretty early in this end, so it'll be interesting to see if he can capitalize and make something of it.
Yeah, this will be an interesting end now because, you know, Glen's going to come around the corner, and no question Paul will peel the corner, and then, you know, Glen might come around the other corner and game on here. And, you know, it'll be his decision now will be how hard he wants to try to get 3 versus at least getting the 2. That'll be the big decision, assuming they're going to keep making their shots and setting it up. But at some point you're going to probably have to decide on whether it's a 2 or 3 you want, and usually 3 comes with a little bit of a risk is all. Gamble. Tyler's the husband of our chairperson here this week, Christy Gamble, who got her first win last night in a big way, beating Colleen Jones, knocking Colleen out of the undefeated ranks, and beating her quite soundly, actually. And Christy's done a great job with this event.
Yeah, and that's a testament to actually how close all the competition is here this weekend. You had Colleen enter that game undefeated. You had Christy enter that game without a win.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, if the standings meant anything, you would have thought Colleen coming away with that game no trouble. But Christy disposing of, or handing Colleen her first loss. And as Jim mentioned, in pretty convincing fashion.
Yeah, I saw that through the ladies draw last night. All 4 games, just great games, and 2 or 3 teams that were winless or maybe 1 win and took the other teams that were on the other side of that right to the end, and a couple of times should have won, and Christy won her game, but, you know, Colleen Pinckney let one slip away, giving up about 4 or 5 straight steals, and Julie McAvoy almost pulled out her game. So yeah, so really even competition on the women's side, and not much different here really. It's you know, it hasn't been a big difference in these teams. The guys aren't walking away. They're not pounding everybody here. They're winning. The good teams are finding a way to win like they do, but it hasn't been a radical difference in the quality of play of the top teams and the bottom teams.
No, exactly. And nice play here from Glen MacLeod's team. Come around the first corner. Paul Dexter peels, comes around the second corner. And now, you know, viewers at home might think, why is that so good? He's laying 3 and 4. But these yellow stones are going to be grouped here. And you know, Glen MacLeod will have the opportunity at some doubles.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's funny because I often wonder if one of these competitive teams just decide, well, to heck with all that. I'm not going to keep chasing all this stuff, playing takeouts. I'm just going to guard that up. You wonder what might happen, but they never do. Yeah. They just can't afford to. It is kind of an interesting thought sometimes. Like, well, what would happen if you just said, well, heck with that?
Sometimes you see that, you know, late in the end, the skip stones will switch the strategy right up and put the pressure on the last rock thrower.
Yeah, the problem now, the ability of the players is just so great that, you know, if you did that, somebody makes some kind of a double and roll to the corner and guard his own rock, now all of a sudden you're chasing. But so the fear of that kind of dictates that you don't play that way. So Glen's going to play what here, Ryan? Little hit and stick.
He's going to make a move on the yellows, and just a nose-nose exchange would leave the blue frozen to the yellow, and the other blue still behind that corner, so not a bad situation here for Glen.
You might see the odd team here that would ignore that, although I think his blue one might even be just number 4, so
yeah,
and being number 4 might change it a little bit. Yeah. Crucial to stay here, and crucial not to wrong way. And
yeah, really doesn't want to create too much separation. Wants to come to the nose.
Yeah.
Here you're going to see
looking
them
pretty
try
good.
To call the line. Wants to stay right there and have the yellow do the same, and a wonderful shot from Glen MacLeod here.
Yeah, great shot. It'll make Paul think a little bit about what he's going to do here. This one's not really behind the corner guard. You can probably see right-hander thrower, probably see at least 3/4 of it, maybe even a little bit more than that. So certainly movable and certainly easy or possible to move and stay. Wow, look at this shot.
Wonderful angle raise on sheet 5 from Sean Adams, and he'll score 1, maybe 2. They're having a look on the biter around the edge, but he'll
looking like
keep
2
the
to me.
lead and control over Stuart Thompson in the battle of 4-1 teams there on sheet 5. It looks like 2 from our angle, but we're going to throw the stick on it just to make sure.
Big shot by Sean. Looked like Stuart has had a steal lined up most of that end, or at least once I looked at it.
And Sean seems to be playing really sharp. There's
yeah, know,
I don't think there was much doubt on that the whole time that came down. There's no doubt that he had that angle raised, lined right up.
Sean is just such a great player. He took a lot of years off play for the longest time, and you know, just a really great player, confident player. I mean, how many people basically could come in and skip a team that Mark Dacey was going to play third for you? Not an easy task. You know, Mark's pretty infamous personality and abilities are. You got to be the right kind of person to be able to do that. There's not many, and Sean has no problem with that. They've had a good year. So it looks like 2.
Yeah, it was 2. So Sean Adams will go up 7-4 on Stuart Thompson, looking to improve to 5-1 and guarantee himself some action here on the playoff weekend. At the East Coast Credit Union, Tankard.
Glen MacLeod playing a draw here, but I'll tell you, this is
real aggressive call.
Yeah,
no, go ahead, Jim.
Well, I think he was just going behind the yellow one. Glen just threw it a little bit heavy. It might have worked out not good.
I don't think so.
No, unfortunately for Glen, he really set up a double that for these guys is, if not a gimme, really gimme. This top one, it might struggle a little bit to get out, but I've seen a couple this week that I thought had no chance of going out, and they just blasted out, no trouble at all.
Yeah, we've noticed the striking bands on these rocks a little stronger. We are playing with the Nova Scotia Curling Association's set of stones, and they're sharper on the bottom to grab the pebble, they curl a little more, but on top of that, the striking bands, the circumference of the stone, are a little wider, so they get a little more action once they bounce, and we've seen a few rocks leave the house because of that.
Yeah, big decision by the NSCA back a few years ago to purchase a set of stones, and you know, it's not a set of stones around the province for key events. They weigh a lot,
yeah.
And freight's not cheap. And fortunately, we have Mackey Moving Systems working with us and as our title sponsor for our junior spiel. And part of their deal is to transport the rocks.
Is that right?
We'll watch the shot and then we'll finish the rest of that story. This could go through the hole.
Oh, it looks pretty good, Jim. And
that's interesting.
Both yellows moving towards the back.
That was kind of funny. Peter couldn't figure out how to get in between them to sweep.
That's right. And the blue stone appears to have left out the side, so it'll leave Paul Dexter lying 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's, you know, unfortunately for Glen, he just put his rock in the wrong place, and you just can't do it. You're going to pay the price when you do that. But just finishing up on the rocks. The rocks were a big investment for the NSCA, no question about it. These are the rocks we used at the Sobey Slam back a few years ago and came out of Winnipeg, and I think it's K and that sold them to us. You know, like I say, it's hard to move them around. We try to get them to the junior, the senior, the this event, the both qualifiers or all the qualifiers, however many we have. So it's a challenge for sure. But
yeah, I can't imagine. This is 16 for 4 sheets here, so 64 stones, 42 pounds each. As we watch Peter Burgess's draw sail right through the house there.
Well, that was odd to see Peter miss a rock by that much. That was a draw that was in the hack basically without touching it. That seems really odd. Maybe just a little bit of a lack of focus after seeing the blue ones go away and recognizing that your big end is probably gone and just didn't bear down enough. Not like Peter to do that. He just doesn't miss shots by that much. So it looks like the MacLeod team's going to be forced to one here, and not what they wanted for sure, but they've got to make it after Paul throws this one. Peter will be in a position he has to make his to get to play the next couple of ends, and still has a chance.
Yeah, the force definitely here in 8. Was another steal on sheet 2 for Jamie Murphy. He's actually taken the lead back for the first time since the first end on Chad Stevens. He's up 5-4. Stevens 9. Looks like that one's going to come down to the last stone in 10, Jim. Yeah,
I think you're right. Not surprisingly so. And actually, the game on 5 that you were mentioning before, when Sean made that shot, that game was 3-point spread now, so a little bit of space for Adams, but another game that you expected to go right to the last shot, and without a spectacular, Adams certainly would have, and still might.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So Peter has to draw a little better than full 8 foot here to score his one, and He'll have to throw a little less weight than the last one, but I'm sure he will. Big shot, though. Got to stay in the game here. You never know. We've seen so many steals this week. It's been crazy. So score here and steal the 9th, steal the 10th, and I guess maybe have to steal the 11th as well.
That's right. That's right. I think a win by Murphy on sheet 2 would eliminate Glen MacLeod from playoff contention.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So big implications here on this morning drive at the Mayflower. And
I'll tell you what, this one is
from Peter
very
again.
heavy. This one might put an end to this one. Well, unfortunately, heavy again for Peter Burgess.
So it's going to be a steal of 1 for Paul Dexter. He'll go up 7-3 on the defending champions. And Glen MacLeod's really going to have to turn things around here if they want a chance at defending their title.
Yep, certainly not an impossible task, but not an easy task. So you're going to see a couple more corners go up. Very much the same as that end. That end had the possibility of a 3-ender at one point, believe it or not. It's hard to look at the last couple of shots, but certainly had the possibilities of a 3. And you just got to execute. You have to execute at a very high level at this competition, and if you don't, you're going to pay the price. And the MacLeod team just didn't quite do what they needed to do. Dexter now with a 4-point lead. Big lead, and as we've said, I don't know how many times, these teams there's not much difference in these teams, and here's the Dexter team coming in here with 1 victory, I think. Maybe? Or 0. 2 Dexter has maybe 1? I'm thinking 1 victory, and no more than 1 anyways. And Glen here, defending champions, just at 2-3, but...
Yeah, 1-4, Paul Dexter.
Yeah. And Dexter control of this one so far, which with 2 ends to go is quite a bit. So corner guard going up for Robby McLean. Robby's found his draw weight here, which is really nice. It's unfortunate that he struggled a little bit early with it, but he's got it. Throw this one up, throw another corner on the next one, and then try to turn that into 3.
Great draw for 2 from Jamie Danbrook over on sheet 3. He'll go up 11-7 on Brent McDougall.
Really nice. Brent had thrown a nice shot. He did everything he could do. All he could do was try to get one in for number 2 and half in the 4-foot, and Jamie made it better. So
that's the other game you can watch live here on Bell TV1. Just go to that menu on the right-hand side of the page you're watching this game on, and just select sheet. You can watch the teams battle it out there.
As Robby throws this corner guard, we should mention again that it takes a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort to make this happen, and it takes a lot of sponsorship to pull that all together. And really happy this week to have our title sponsors, obviously East Coast Credit Union, Tankard on the men's side, and the Kruger people with the Scotties program on the ladies' side. And the Scotties have been around forever, it seems, and thanks for them. Locally, they've got Tim Hortons here at gold level sponsor, and Deloitte, who came on board fairly late, and it's great to see them. It's certainly made it possible to do most of what you see out here. You know, you put up all the draperies and signage and bleachers and everything else. It's all expensive. It costs a lot of dollars to do that, and without those people, we couldn't pull it off. And we'll just come back here and cover some of the other sponsors in a couple of minutes.
That's right, Jim, and we were talking about Scotty products the other day, and they're a long-time support of women's curling in Canada, and I consulted the people over at Wikipedia, and it was 1982, the first year that they joined on as a sponsor, so 34 years now of sponsorship from Scotties.
It's amazing. Wikipedia is amazing too. That's what you can find on Wikipedia, so if we refer to any terms or anything at all that you don't understand, look it up on Wikipedia, and I'll tell you what, it's going to be there.
That's right.
So appeal coming for Neil Gallant.
I think I may have originally learned that little piece of trivia reading through Colleen's book there that I wonderfully received at Christmas, and it's an easy read to go through and not too not too fast, and she mentions that Scotties being the sponsor for the first year in 1982 because that's also the year Colleen won her first Scotties.
That's right. I think she played in 33 of those 34 years, so it's yeah, it's pretty amazing, her record over the years, and she continues to be just such a force. That team is an amazing team. They're not always the stereotypical team in terms of how they play the game and the shots they play, but they just make everything, and Colleen makes the last one almost every time, and Kim Kelly's a machine at third, and Nancy Delahunt's just a fabulous lead, and someone who really manages the house well with Colleen. It's a pretty incredible story, that whole franchise, if you will, of the Colleen Jones era. It just continues.
And you can work on your delivery, you can work on a lot of technical aspects of the game, but we talk about the intangible aspects of a curling team, and that's chemistry, and that's another thing that Colleen's really found in her players with Kim Kelly and Mary Sue Radford, Nancy Delahunt. Mary Sue, obviously not a member of the 4-member squad that won the string of titles in the early 2000s, but a long time association with the team regardless, either as a 5th player or coach and support staff, so no stranger to Colleen, and now playing together on the seniors level.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is an incredible story, no question. So what have we got going on here? MacLeod's got a couple of guards to work with. They're Dexter Stones, but at least they're out there. They need something in play that they can work with, and they have to really perform some magic here to make this work. It's pretty near 100% have to get 3 in this end, but 2 you probably have maybe a 2% chance of forcing the next strand, I'd say. 2 or 3%, that would be about it. Yeah.
Pretty low percentage.
Because even stealing 1 in the last end, I'm guessing the stats, and we could probably look this up somewhere, but I'm thinking you probably only win about 20% of those games, and
yeah, that's right.
Well, if you ever want to know anything about curling, if you go to curlingzone.com, worldcurl.com, either one of those, and you'll probably find Jerry Gertz and his information, and I would imagine you can find stats on every team and every player, and it's pretty cool what Jerry does with that stuff. So
yeah, the curlingzone.com website, really popular in the curling community across Canada. You can follow pretty much any event, any curling event going on in the world on the day that you're logging in, and follow the live scoring. I know we mentioned, we're playing the Scotties Playdowns here this week in Nova Scotia. Scotties Playdowns underway more or less across the country, and you can follow all of those on curlingzone.com. And I know that Curling Zone also has put up some links as far as linking to our live stream here of our coverage of the Nova Scotia Scotties. So we're getting some viewers from all over the world just thanks to that link being posted from Curling Zone. I had some friends reach out at me yesterday from Toronto that were surprised to hear my voice when listening into Colleen's game, and we're reaching audiences all over the place with the internet and the wonderful folks over at Bell TV1.
Yeah, it's pretty cool for sure. So just a couple of the other sponsors that we have on board here this week are the good people next door at the Monaghan Square, which is an amazing facility they're building there with apartment structures and gyms and everything. And we actually quite often have a rep here from Monaghan Square. If anybody's interested, they have some really great looking pictures and some nice brochures and very affordable living for a city on the shore. A little country guy, it's a little different, but
yeah, Monaghan Square, one of many just retail, condo, mixed-use buildings going up in Halifax this year. The cranes are aplenty in the Haligonian sky.
Yeah, it's just watching them out there yesterday on the trawls and driving around those trawls thinking, holy cow, those guys are freezing to death.
Yeah.
But anyway, here we are back here, and Glen MacLeod's just thrown one through the house, so struggles continue a little bit with the MacLeod team. He had a chance here to come around and sit number maybe 4 or so, and he would have been sitting 2, 3, or whatever it is, 2, 3, and 4, I guess. Unfortunately, he threw it through, and a big mess because you know, this is not there's no guarantees here that Paul's going to get anything out. And if he tries to hit this and doesn't get it out, all of a sudden MacLeod's going to be hitting to sit 3, and it could have been. Anyway, they're going to take a timeout and talk about it. Ask Coach Martin Gavin to come down and give them a hand as to what to play here. Murray's wandering down, but not going real quick. He has to go to the other end, and maybe he's just going to try to do it from here. Murray's done some announcing for us this week, too. Great guy. Does a great job on the mic. Been to a couple of Briars. Lived up north for a few years. Went to a couple of Briars from up north. Back in the province again. He's going to talk to Neil. Other guys just... It's pretty early in the morning. Martin just doesn't feel like walking that far. Problem with those timeouts, you know, I coached my sister's team when I was in Shelburne, and when they were in Shelburne, and you have 90 seconds. It starts somewhere... Well, down there it started, I think, from the time the person put their hands together. But by the time you walked across the sheet and waited for people to throw... If you did, and then you walk down the sheet and get to the other end. I asked the official one time how much time I had, and I had like 24 seconds left. So sometimes you sort of wonder, well, what's the point?
Yeah.
And Peter doesn't have a coach, so anyway, that timeout's over pretty uneventful.
Pretty quick, yeah.
We do know that Neil Gallant and Marty spoke for a couple of seconds, so
it's just
maybe some information will get relayed.
The message, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
We can tell you some ninth end updates from our other games. Stuart Thompson forced to 1 in the 9th on ice 5. Adams with a 2-point lead, playing 10. We saw Stuart take a timeout there at the beginning of the end, have a little chat with Coach Kevin Patterson. Came out and gave the team a plan for this end because they have to steal 2 if they want to stay at their 1-loss record. Sean Adams also at 1 loss, so big battle there. And it was a blank end in the 9th G2 between Chad Stevens and Jamie Murphy. Chad Stevens down 1 with Hammer coming home. The classic setup in curling. We'll see if he can manufacture his deuce for the win.
Yeah, the tough thing for the two teams at 1 loss right now is that losing this game, it doesn't get easier in the next round. They're playing each other, those 4 teams. So, you know, for Stuart here, and not likely to win this game, like we just finished saying a minute ago, it's probably about a 2% chance that you ever steal 2 in the last end at this level. And that might be a little generous, but he'll give it a go, for sure. But you know, he's going to have to come back and play Chad this afternoon in a game that he probably is going to have to win to get in. But anyway, that's this afternoon. For now, we got to try to get through this one, and Peter Burgess going to play the out-turn draw. Try to duck around that guard, which is quite possible, obviously, because we see Glen MacLeod's rock at the back of the house, at the back line, actually, where he actually just came around that other. Lots of curl.
Yeah.
And then hopefully for him, Paul will have a tough time getting either one of those 2 rocks out. It's on its way. This is absolutely crucial to make this shot and make it good. It doesn't do you a lot of good if it just in the wide open spaces.
Peter had a bit of trouble with his draw weight in the last end. We'll see if he can make the adjustment here.
A little bonus here, just a little bonus to be sitting here at in our little mini booth with a Scottish tissue, which kind of came in handy there for a second. It's great. So it's there, and you know there's a chance. So all you can do is throw it in there and hope you make the other team's shot more difficult. And
with that ice, Jim playing some weight, trying to tap it out.
Yeah, definitely trying to remove it. Now, he's not drawing to it for sure, which is not a big surprise, but not an easy shot. You know, he sees probably third maybe, max a third.
Yeah, I'm right behind there now, and I'd say maybe even a little less than that. But there is a lot of separation between the two, so curl will definitely work to his advantage there. Hard on the sweep here for Tom Bragnalo. It's by the guard, no problem.
Good shot by Paul Dexter. Nice control, weight shot, and MacLeod the draw for 2, but that's all you can do. That's all you can do for Dexter, and all you can do for MacLeod is make this and try to put that 2 or 3% to work in the next end and find a way to steal 2. Brent McDougall shaking hands over there. He just gave up one to Jamie. Well, Shake was interesting. Just a little quick side story. Played with Peter Burgess 1 year in the Tankard, and we played Brent. Just Brent playing a split there was what made me think of this. And unfortunately for Brent, we actually had a split for 8 in the first end of the zone playdowns at that time. And we didn't make it. It wasn't a very easy split, but started the game down 7.
Yeah, I'd imagine. I think no matter how hard the splits for 8s are, give them a try.
Oh, we gave it a try. Yeah, we did give it a try. Yeah. Yeah. So Peter makes the draw for 2. No surprise. I don't really know what happened yet in that last end. I just have to assume it's just a little focus issue, and because he just doesn't miss. Peter makes a whack of draws and didn't make 2 the last end. So either one of 2. So we're down to the last end, Ryan.
That's right. A nice pickup of 2 there from the defending champions, Glen MacLeod. He'll pull to within 2. The score will be 7-5 coming home. Paul Dexter with the hammer. All games now entering the 10th end. Jim mentioned our 1 final. Jamie Dambrook picking up his first win over Brent McDougall. He'll go to 1-5. Brent McDougall still looking for that first win at 0-6.
Just glancing over to see if anything going on sheet 5, and Stuart Thompson does have a rock at the top of the 4-foot. Adams one on the top of the 12, which he would rather probably not have, but for now, Colton Steele, the 3rd for Stuart Thompson, throwing what looks like rock. And got to be some kind of a guard, I would imagine, if he's trying to steal 2. So
it's been all about guarding that 1 stone he has so far, but he is going to need 2 to tie the game up. So still an uphill battle there for Stuart Thompson on sheet 5.
Yeah, it's a tough situation, and really it's just you can't make stuff happen, so you just guard this one up as long as you can, and probably on your last shot, if it comes to that, you draw the house, perhaps draw behind the blue corner guard, or just duck around this yellow one and hope for a miss by Sean on his last one. It's really all you can do. So coming up here, Glen MacLeod asked Robby to throw one out front, and like I say, Robby has found his draw weight. The last 3 ends been absolutely perfect for weight, and now Paul will try to just slide this rock probably, I don't know, 3 feet to our right as we look at it.
Oh, very delicate being asked from Tommy Bragnalo here. It's, we call it the tick shot. It's also gotten another name in the last few years as the Weagle, and that comes thanks to the lead on Rachel Holman's team, Lisa Weagle, making a lot of these tick shots. That blue stone can't be removed, so it's all about moving it to the sideline and making it unusable for Glen MacLeod's team. And a pretty good effort there from Tommy Bragnalo. Manages to move it a couple feet over. He probably would have liked to move it a bit further than that, but those are commonly known as the toughest shot in curling, so a good effort there regardless.
Yeah, I think it was a good shot. It's kind of a weird situation to do with whether you even play that shot, because it's you can't remove it, so it's going to be there for Glen to use anyway. So some teams might not even play that on that one, because if you hit a little too much of it, it doesn't go out and your shooter doesn't go out, and then you end up with 2 rocks in play.
Yeah, that's right.
Admittedly they're corner guards. The center of the house is going to be open. Right now the MacLeod team would take anything, so
right.
They don't really care where they are. They just want something.
Paul,
you see, this time he didn't bother. He just said, well, throw it through. So it looks like the Thompson team on sheet 5 decided to get another rock in the house now rather than later, and Colton Steele draws one in, and they're sitting 2 for probably about 15 more seconds, I think, and then there's going to be at least one of them gone. But he does have at least one in, and never say die. So Tyler Gamble's going to be asked to play the intern come around the long corner guard, and this isn't traditional. If you are playing at home, you're wondering why are they drawing around corners. It's just because he's down 2 without Hammer, and it's very unlikely you'd ever get 2 around a center guard, and you kind of need a miracle, and better chance of a miracle happening if they can't see them instead of being in wide open space.
Definitely unconventional approach to stealing, but they're going to need some unconventional finishes here to...
Well, sure. You know, you just try to get a little bit of heat on, so when Paul Dexter goes to throw his last shot, he's ideally looking at 3 and looking at a possible loss if he ever misses, or at 2. Because if he's only looking at 1, he's probably not throwing his last one.
Exactly. And Paul Dexter is going to go right up and peel that guard away, and I assume we're going to see Glen go around the second corner here. And then Glen will lay the 2 he needs to tie the game up.
Interesting, you know, you're going on both, you know, sheet 5 beside with Adams and Thompson with the exact same situation where Stewart's trying to steal 2 in the last end, and his shot he's going to play right now is the out-turn draw around a corner guard to sit 2-3 and just try to make it a little tougher. That's all you can do. Just try to keep you a little bit informed of that game. That's a little bit more interested in that one. Maybe your friends or family of one of the teams, and we'll try to talk you through a little bit of the last couple of shots here. Nice shot by Tyler Gamble here.
Yeah, great come around behind the second corner guard. I'm kind of surprised that Stewart's leaving that shot Adam Stone there, and he's going to have to move it somewhere. Yeah,
I think it's a question of, you know, if you move it, what do you do? If you go for a roll behind the corner guard and roll out, your game's over. I like it, Ryan. I think you like you say, you need some kind of magic to happen anyways, and I think there's a better chance if you can't see something. Really hard to play a hit and roll and not maybe miss it and get in trouble. So here's a shot by second stone Neil Gallant. Get rid of the corner guard. MacLeod team's been perfect so far in this end. Unfortunately, it might not be enough. They'll throw the corner guard up on this one, on the right probably, since it's the closest. I don't know why we do that. We just assume we might as well cover the shot rock instead of the second shot rock. Yeah. And right now it doesn't really probably matter a whole heck of a lot which one you cover, but I expect that's what he's playing, and be the corner guard on playing the out-turn corner guard.
Throwing his stone now on sheet 5 and trying to lie 1 and 2, and that'll make Stuart Thompson's attempts at stealing 2 extremely difficult.
Andrew Gibson, the only sweeper, Ian cheering him on. Now Fitz gets to sweep for the last 6-7 feet, which is perfect. He got it out. Boy, I'll tell you what, we haven't seen that sheet, but that was a pretty finessey kind of weight for a team with a 2-point lead in Hammer. I thought he'd throw that one a little harder than that, but anyway, he didn't. Uh-oh.
Looks like we might have a hog draw here from Glen MacLeod, and that's going to leave the 2 blue stones in the house exposed, and now Paul Dexter able to run after them, no guards in play. Yeah,
that's probably a direct result of Glen's last draw on the last end that just slid just through the house, and now he's got to not only throw a better draw, but he's got to throw a guard, and took too much off, and Paul Dexter seems to run this out now with a lot of trouble. Mark Robar throwing the high hard one, gets rid of one of the ones in the house. And all you can do is throw it in and hope. I will tell you, not that you ever hope somebody rock picks or anything like that, but Peter Burgess yesterday lost a game maybe as a result of a pick on his last shot. He was just trying to throw a guard sitting 2 against Jamie Murphy in the last end, and it picked and went sideways, and Jamie had an open hit for the win. So you never know. So
that's right.
Sweepers got to be careful, always keeping it clean, certainly for both teams, but this one might be a little hot.
Yeah, we have some handshakes over there on sheet 5. Able to hold off Stuart Thompson's comeback and picks up the W and goes to 5-1, dropping Stuart Thompson down to 4-2. That'll guarantee some playoff action for Sean Adams. We have 2 teams now with that status, and that'll just playoff picture will be clear as the day goes on.
Yeah, probably going to be a little tiny bit clearer, after this end, but certainly much clearer by the end of tonight's game, or this afternoon's game. But I'm thinking that this is, if Dexter holds on and wins this game, which seems likely, they're probably going to eliminate, I think, will eliminate the Burgess rink, Glen MacLeod's team. That'll put 4 teams in the hunt for 3 spots, and
that's right.
We'll see what happens on sheet 1.
And all those 4 teams playing each other tonight.
Yeah.
So an exciting finish this afternoon. The men will take the ice back on at 4 o'clock. The women will play before that at noon. Women again at 8 tonight as we wrap up round robin. We can give you a short update on ice 2 as they're playing the 10th end. Jamie Murphy up 1. Jamie Murphy has a nice steal point at the top of the button, and it is covered, and he is throwing. So slight advantage there, Team Murphy in the 10th end, trying to hand Stevens their first loss.
Yeah, this you know, we haven't really looked super hard yet at the way this works, but if Stevens were to get upset over here, could be a really interesting game this afternoon with almost anybody being able to make or miss the playoffs of those 4 teams.
And first place as well with that direct bye to the final. Just
that's huge, eh?
Anyone's, you know, anyone could be that first place team. And we mentioned that if Chad Stevens lost, that would keep Glen MacLeod alive, but Glen MacLeod has to win is the other part of that equation, and that's not looking likely here as we wrap up the 10th end of our feature game here on sheet 4. To you from Bell Fiber Op TV1. We'll be covering sheets 3 and 4 all day. Be back with you for women's action at noon. Yeah,
there is a tie. If anybody's wondering what happens if teams tie for first place, well, there is a formula. It basically is going to depend on head-to-head results first of all. So if you're tied with somebody, and if you're tied with me, Ryan, and you beat me, which is probably likely, then you would get first place, and vice versa if I had beaten you. And if there's 3 teams tied, then they actually look at the last shot draw to the buttons. And I know earlier in the week, I should have looked at that today, but I didn't. Jamie was leading that earlier, but I'm not sure where that's now.
And that, from what I understand, Jim, that would really be the formula for ranking any first or second place teams. But if there were ever a tie for the 3rd place team, and I learned this at mixed doubles last year, that you can't be eliminated from on a draw to the button cumulative.
And you're exactly right. That's what it is here too. So if 2 teams tie for 3rd place, then there will be a playoff game tomorrow morning, and everything gets pushed back a little bit. So or actually maybe with 1 tiebreaker it doesn't get pushed back. But anyway, there would be a tiebreaker game. You can't be eliminated on a draw to the button. But you could get first place on that, so that's a biggie.
Exactly. I didn't.
So Peter's last shot coming down here. All he can really do is put it in the house, and hope somehow Paul finds a way to miss it. Not likely, but he's got to throw it. And until the last rock's gone, then there's always a possibility.
Yeah. So just make some blue granite go away here for Paul Dexter, and he'll pick up his 2nd win of the competition here this week, and that would formally eliminate our defending champions, handing them 4th loss.
So Paul take his time here, make sure he just doesn't get a little ramped up or anything silly like that, and clean off, do the normal pre-shot routine and cleaning the stone and doing whatever it is you do. Most of these guys have some sort of routine. It's nothing elaborate. It's just a little thing. Like Paul gets in and steps back in the direction of the broom, and here it comes. Mark Robar, he's watching now. He's having a look over on sheet 1, see what's going on. So it's on its way. Guys will clean it all the way down the sheet.
Last stone of the 10th end here on its way from Paul Dexter. Make go away for the win, and he is successful. He even gets an inside roll to the top of the 4-foot. He'll count 1 to go up 8-5 and win the game. He'll go to 2 and 4. That'll bring Glen MacLeod down to that same level, 2 and 4. That'll formally eliminate our defending champions here. I'll tell you about the game on sheet 2 is coming down to a tight finish. Jamie Murphy so far is set up quite nicely for a steal point, but unfortunately we're going to have to sign off here on our coverage of sheet 4, and you can follow up on the scores to that game on nscurl.com. End-by-end live scoring available there from all 4 sheets. For us, we'll be back at noon for some women's action. On behalf of Jim, Nix, and I, we thank you for tuning in and watching, and hope you'll do so again later. Have a wonderful morning.